Chapter 2677. Ding Dong. Deng Xianying glanced at Elder Meng. Elder Meng nodded and stood behind the door. Deng Xianying opened the door. He saw Gao Kun and an unfamiliar man standing behind her. Elder Meng winked at Gao Kun. Gao Kun understood and said calmly, "Elder Meng, look what I brought you. Come on, come in first." Elder Meng warmly invited them into the house. The moment Chun Zhao stepped into the room, Old Meng launched a sneak attack at him. The corners of Elder Meng's mouth curved. Within 10 steps, no one could escape. Chun Zhao had long known about Old Meng's existence. Therefore, he just raised his right arm slightly and grabbed Elder Meng's face. Elder Meng grabbed Chun Zhao's wrist with a backhand. A dagger popped out of his sleeve, trying to cut Chun Zhao's wrist. However, the dagger did not feel like it was cutting his wrist. Chun Zhao pressed his palm down slightly, and Old Meng's body bent backward. However, Elder Meng's body was quite flexible. At least he didn't break his back. However, this position was still very uncomfortable. Chun Zhao casually tossed Old Meng away like he was trash. Using the wall, Old Meng kicked off with both feet and shot toward Chun Zhao again. It seemed that he was not satisfied with that momentary loss. He felt that he had been careless. Or perhaps he had fallen into the opponent's trap. The other party must have sensed him hiding behind the door. Therefore, this time, Elder Meng intended to go all out. Void-breaking claw. In 1/100th of a second, Old Meng was less than a meter away from Chun Zhao. At this moment, Elder Meng's hands suddenly disappeared. The next moment, he appeared before Chun Zhao and clawed at his face. His palms seemed to have pierced through space. However, the next moment, Chun Zhao reached out and grabbed both of Elder Meng's hands in an instant. Chun Zhao twisted Old Meng's hands like a fried dough twist. Once again, Chun Zhao abandoned Old Meng like trash. Both Deng Xianying and Gao Kun were shocked. Elder Meng lost? He actually lost? Wasn't he invincible within 10 meters? Even Celestial Master Zhang did not dare to let Elder Meng get within 10 meters of him. But now, he was actually defeated by someone within 10 meters. Moreover, he had lost so miserably and so quickly. Before they could react, Elder Meng had already been defeated. As if nothing had happened, Chun Zhao walked to the sofa and sat down. "I hope you can bring me some useful information," Chun Zhao said indifferently. "Otherwise, there's no value in your existence." Deng Xianying glanced at Elder Meng on the ground. At this moment, Elder Meng's arms were curled up like fried dough twists. But for an assassin like him, as long as he wasn't dead, he was in mortal danger. However, Elder Meng shook his head at Deng Xianying. Elder Meng endured the pain and did not make a sound. For Elder Meng at this moment, the external injuries were far inferior to the internal injuries he had suffered. Or rather, it was a blow to his heart. He had never lost so badly before. So direct, so straightforward. "I don't have a Mohan's contact information, but I know someone who definitely has it." Deng Xianying tried to remain calm. "Who?" "My boss, the founder and leader of the Thousand Run Association, the Serpent. Almost all the cultivator assassins in China are his subordinates," Deng Xianying said. "He's an earth serpent that has cultivated for 1,000 years. He's a peerless demon. Not only does he have thousands of cultivator assassins, but he also controls hundreds of shape-shifted demons. Where can I find him?" Chun Zhao had already filtered out Deng Xianying's introduction of the serpent. "You're really going to find him? Where can I find him?" Chun Zhao asked again. "North Island," Deng Xianying said. "Location." Deng Xianying did not waste any time and gave him the exact location. Chun Zhao glanced at Deng Xianying. "I hope the location is accurate. Otherwise, I'll come back for you." Then, Chun Zhao turned and left. Deng Xianying and Gao Kun did not expect Chun Zhao to let them go just like that. It was so straightforward that they could not get used to it. "Deng, is he really gone?" Gao Kun asked worriedly. Deng Xianying looked at Gao Kun with an ugly expression. After all, Gao Kun was the one who had brought trouble. Deng Xianying helped Elder Meng up. "Elder Meng, how are you?" "I'm badly injured," Elder Meng said in a low voice. "I won't be able to fight for a few years." Deng Xianying looked at Gao Kun. "Who exactly is that person?" "I don't know. He suddenly appeared at my door and subdued me. Gao Kun gave a simple explanation. However, he could vaguely guess who had exposed him. No matter who he is, he's dead, Deng Xianying said with a gloomy expression. Gao Kun glanced at Elder Meng. That person is probably as strong as a top assassin. So what? North Island is the serpent's nest. Not only are there hundreds of demons, but there are also thousands of trained assassins. Moreover, the serpent has 1,000 years of cultivation. Even Celestial Master Zhang might not be able to win, let alone a nameless person. It's not an exaggeration to say that North Island is a dragon's lair and a tiger's lair. Aren't you afraid that the serpent will come after you for causing trouble? Gao Kun asked. Is this trouble for the serpent? Ha! Deng Xianying sneered. Does the serpent really have Mo Han's contact information? Gao Kun looked at Deng Xianying. After all, the rules of the Wan Rin Association were set by the serpent. Assassins would only contact their contact information. Even the serpent could not force the contact information of the assassin. Gao Kun did not know if the serpent had Mo Han's contact information. However, he knew that Deng Xianying definitely had it, because Deng Xianying used to be Mo Han's contact information. Maybe, but as the leader of the Wan Rin Association, he naturally has the obligation to solve some extraordinary problems for us. Elder Meng remained silent. Deng Xianying treated Elder Meng and asked, What's wrong, Elder Meng? That person gives me a very uncomfortable feeling, Elder Meng said. What uncomfortable feeling? I don't know. All right, don't think too much. We just need to wait for the good news. If that guy is not dead, I will ask the serpent to bring him over. When that time comes, you can personally take revenge. What you need to do now is to recuperate. Otherwise, even if he is tied up in front of you, you won't be able to kill him. I hope so. Elder Meng sighed. I'll go home first. If there's any news, inform me immediately. That's good too. You can wait for the good news at home. Elder Meng stood up and was about to leave. Suddenly, he felt suffocated. He almost lost his balance and fell on the sofa. Elder Meng, what's wrong? Chapter 2678. Elder Meng tremblingly reached into his pocket and searched for something. He took out a blood jade that was covered in cracks. What is this? A life-returning stone. My teacher and I gave one to each other. Elder Meng's face became solemn. What is this life-returning stone for? As long as a trace of essence is injected into the life-returning stone, no matter where it is, as long as the owner of the essence is abnormal, it will be reflected on the life-returning stone at the same time. Back then, my teacher and I had a good relationship, so we gave each other a life-returning stone. If we were in danger, the other could find out in time and help us. Elder Meng's face became more and more unsightly. Help me dial a number. Deng Xianying immediately dialed the phone number for Elder Meng. It's off. Deng Xianying looked up at Elder Meng. Where is your teacher? He's on the Great North Island. Elder Meng's face was full of worry. What could it be? It's impossible. The Great North Island is more than 3,000 kilometers away from here. It's on the high seas. No matter how fast that person is, it's impossible for him to reach the Great North Island in just a few minutes. It should be a coincidence. Your teacher might be sick or some other accident. At this moment, the life-returning stone in Elder Meng's palm exploded without warning. Everyone was stunned and looked up at Elder Meng. Elder Meng was silent for a while. He's dead. Elder Deng, do you know anyone on the Great North Island? Or someone's contact number? Wait. Elder Meng took out an old phone book. This phone book was obviously a little old. After all, almost no one would use a phone book nowadays. Deng Xianying flipped through the phone book, then picked up the phone and dialed. However, there was also a notification that the phone was turned off. Deng Xianying frowned and flipped through another phone number. He dialed again, but there was still a notification that the phone was turned off. Deng Xianying flipped through another phone number. This time, someone finally picked up. However, the first thing that came was a loud noise. It was not the sound of an explosion, but more like the sound of something heavy hitting the ground. No matter who you are, come to the Great North Island immediately to support. I repeat, support the Great North Island. There's a strong enemy attacking the Great North Island. The voice on the other end of the phone sounded very anxious and panicked. "Chief, the king has come out. We're saved," roared. A loud dragon roar came from the other end of the line. Then there was a series of explosions. "Patriarch, even the king can't stop that person. The king is injured." "Patriarch, what do we do now?" That person is eating the king. He's not human. He's not human. He's a demon." "Don't shout. Hurry up and organize people to save the king. Hurry, your majesty." At this moment, the person on the other end of the phone suddenly let out a hysterical scream. It was obvious that something very bad had happened. The three people on the other end of the phone didn't look too good. "Bang. I don't know. I really don't know Mohan. I don't have his contact information." Screams and wails could be heard from the other end of the line. It was like a call to hell. The voice on the other end of the phone was filled with despair and fear. I know who knows how to contact Mohan. Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I don't want to die." Deng Xianying threw the phone on the table. It felt as if he was throwing out some big trouble. "No, we can't stay here." Deng Xianying suddenly stood up and shouted in horror, "That man, he will come back. We must leave here now. We have to hide in a place where no one can find us." However, Elder Meng didn't move. "Elder Meng, did you hear what I said? Let's go quickly." Gao Kun was trembling. He also didn't want to leave. Elder Meng shook his head. "We can't escape. That person has left a mark on our bodies. Even if we escape to the ends of the earth, we can't escape from his hands. Then what should we do? By the way, we will set up a trap. You find a few people to go with you. You're a top killer. If you sneak attack, you can definitely kill him." At this moment, Deng Xianying was a little scared out of his wits. He was like holding on to the last life-saving straw, panicking and helpless. Elder Meng slowly raised his head and looked at Deng Xianying. "I'm afraid that the strength of that person is beyond our understanding. The Flood Dragon, the trained killers of the Great North Island, and the demon tribe of the Great North Island, none of them could stop that person. Do you think the people I found can stop him? Then what should we do? I don't want to die. I don't want to wait for death here. We can't do anything," Elder Meng said calmly. For a moment, the three fell into silence. The atmosphere in the room became deathly silent. Time passed by minute. The three seemed to be waiting for the judgment of fate. Although they looked calm, they couldn't calm down inside. The morning light of dawn shone into the living room, but the morning light didn't bring them any warmth. It was because a figure covered in sticky blood had come with the morning light. The three stood up immediately, as if their hair stood on end. The entire living room was filled with the smell of blood. The three looked at Chen Zhao. They didn't know how many people he had killed, but it must be a frightening number. "Do you mind taking a shower here?" Chen Zhao glanced at Deng Xianying, but he clearly wasn't asking Deng Xianying. 10 minutes later, Chen Zhao came out of the bathroom. He was much more spirited now. He wasn't as hungry as before. His hunger hadn't been completely eliminated, but he wasn't tormented by it anymore. After all, he just swallowed a 1,000-year-old dragon. Chen Zhao also changed his clothes. Relaxed, he sat before the three of them. "Go out and buy some breakfast." Chen Zhao looked at Gao Kun. "The more, the better." "Huh?" Gao Kun was shocked, not understanding Chen Zhao's intentions. "If you can't even buy breakfast, then you're too worthless." Gao Kun ran out as if she was running for her life. Chen Zhao looked at Deng Xianying. "Do you need me to explain my intentions again?" Deng Xianying's face was pale. "If I help you contact Mohan, can you let me go?" "That depends on how much you can help me contact him." Deng Xianying swallowed. "I'll try my best to find out where he is. If you can help me find out where he is, then you'll be spared." Elder Meng's eyes flashed as he looked at Chen Zhao. "Can I ask, what's the situation on North Island now?" "Most of the people and demons on the island are dead," Chen Zhao said indifferently. Chapter 2679. On a private plane that was crossing the border, and Mohan and the contact were drinking wine face to face. "Something happened to the Bei Dao," the contact said. "Oh, what happened?" "I heard they were attacked." "The government?" And Mohan's first thought was that it was an attack from the government. After all, with the size of the Bei Dao and the power of the Wan Ren Association, Even a sect of the same level wouldn't attack the Bei Dao. No one had absolute strength that could crush the Bei Dao. Even the Supreme Celestial Master Zhang and the Celestial Master sect couldn't do it. Only the government had such power. I don't know. My friend in the Bei Dao told me last night. What's the current situation? I can't get in touch with him. But the Bei Dao has the serpent. Even if it's an attack from the government, it's enough to make them suffer. Forget it. No matter what happens to the Bei Dao, it has nothing to do with us, Mo Han said indifferently. Yes, since you've decided to leave the Wan Ren Association, the Bei Dao and the serpent have nothing to do with you anymore. The contact smiled and said, the Alliance of 10,000 Evil spent so much money to invite a great god like you over. They don't want you to be half-hearted. I just agreed to be their coach for 5 years, Mo Han said disapprovingly. Mo Han disapprovingly said, if they think that I will become their slave from now on, then they're thinking too much. If necessary, I don't mind giving them a show of strength. Then you have to be merciful. After all, they're your sugar daddy now. Don't go too far with them, the contact said with a smile. All right, I know what I'm doing. At that moment, Mo Han's phone rang. Hey, old dang, what's up? Where are you now? I'm on a plane. I just crossed the border. You went abroad? Yes, a foreign organization invited me to be a coach, Mo Han said. In the past, he and Deng Xianying had a good time working together. Even when they separated, it was considered a peaceful breakup. So, they still contacted each other occasionally. What organization? The Alliance of Evil, Mo Han replied. He didn't hide it. After all, it wasn't the first time. Italy's Alliance of Evil? That's it, Mo Han replied. What's the matter? I just wanted to have a drink with you, but it seems like I won't have the chance. It doesn't matter. I will only go abroad for a few years. Moreover, you can also come to Italy. I will be the host. Mo Han said straightforwardly. All right then, there's nothing else. Let me know when you've decided. I'll contact you if I have plans to go abroad. No problem. Mo Han hung up the phone. The person on the other end of the line looked at Mo Han and asked, Is it old Deng? Yes. Mo Han did not hide anything and directly nodded. The contact person didn't say much. This was their tacit understanding. At that time, the person who had contacted Deng Xianying had taken away Mo Han's representative rights. He and Deng Xianying could be considered to have formed a grudge. However, Mo Han had never fallen out with Deng Xianying. This made him a little disappointed. After all, if Mo Han and Deng Xianying fell out, it would be impossible for them to cooperate again. But Deng Xianying was smarter than most people. Even if he was unhappy, he still kept in touch with Mo Han. Just like Mo Han's big brother, Mo Han would also give Deng Xianying warmth from time to time. At this time, the phone of the person on the other end of the line rang. Hello, old Monster Gung. What's the situation on the Great North Island now? Are there any losses? Dead. All dead. Old Monster Gung's voice was filled with fear. The entire Great North Island was annihilated. The giant serpent, the 2 great monster clans, and more than 1,000 trained killers were all killed. What? What happened? I don't know. Last night, a person broke into the Great North Island and started a massacre. He even said that he was looking for Mo Han. Looking for Mo Han? Yes, of course, the giant serpent was not happy, so it fought with the devil. In just a few rounds, the giant serpent was killed by the devil. Even its monster core was crushed by the devil. And that devil actually skinned the giant serpent's body and swallowed it alive. You mean, the giant serpent is also dead? Are you kidding me? When you called me last night, you seemed quite relaxed. Mo Han frowned, but he did not interrupt. Instead, he waited for the person on the other end of the line. My fucking brain. I'm joking with you? Old Monster Gung's tone suddenly became agitated. Who did Mo Han offend? The entire Great North Island was destroyed by him. There are less than 20 people alive, including the monster clans. Half of the Great North Island was destroyed, and the other half is also a river of blood. Can you believe that this was done by one person? Is what you said true? That devil seemed to have obtained some information before the giant serpent died. At that time, he did not force me to tell him. Otherwise, I might have sold you out. You and Mo Han better be careful. Run as far as you can, and do not return to the Great North Island for the time being. That's all I have to say. You guys are on your own now." Old Monster Gung hung up after saying that. The person on the other end did not speak for a long time. After a long time, he turned to look at Emohan. "Emohan, did you offend any enemies recently?" "What are you talking about?" "In our line of work, we always offend enemies every time we do a mission." "Emohan, I'm not joking with you. The giant serpent is dead, and the entire Great North Island is a river of blood." Old Monster Gung said that it was done by one person, and that person is looking for you. "Are you joking?" "I'm not joking. Think about it carefully. Are you sure you didn't offend anyone you shouldn't have? You know all my missions. Even if there is someone with a terrifying background, I don't know. You have seen every mission, and if anyone knows, you would know it better than me. That person is not only powerful, but also cruel. His behavior is also creepy. He actually ate the giant serpent alive." Emohan was shocked when he heard the words of the person on the other end. Eating the flesh and blood of a living creature? Why does this sound like the symptoms of someone who has been hit by the 9 Viscera techniques? Emohan suddenly had a very bad feeling. The person on the other end looked at Emohan's face and felt nervous. "Emohan, did you remember something? A few days ago, Zhang Ding asked me to do a private thing." "What private thing?" "He seems to have lost a lot of face because of some strong person, and then asked me to trick the other party." Emohan's complexion was very ugly to look at. "I don't know the strength of that person, but the other party was hit by my magic." Chapter 2680. Hit by your spell? Then he shouldn't be very strong, right? The man asked hopefully. "What will happen if he's hit by your spell?" "He'll become very hungry, as if he can't eat his fill. Soon he'll even eat raw food, even living things." Emohan's expression was solemn. He was already regretting his decision. He even hated Zhang Ding. Zhang Ding had brought him a huge problem. A monster that had razed a bay island to the ground and eaten the serpents like snacks. It was very dangerous to fight against such a monster. Suddenly, the plane shook violently. Then the man and Emohan both came to the cabin door and made a strange sound. The sound wasn't loud, but made people's hair stand on end. Emohan felt like his scalp was going to explode. He'd just seen something fly across the window, but the thing was too fast, so he couldn't see it clearly. The next moment, the air pressure in the cabin plummeted, followed by a huge airflow. The man grabbed his seat and screamed in fear. The cabin door had been pulled open by something, or rather someone. At this moment, a large amount of air was escaping outwards. A figure finally jumped in through the open cabin door. When Chun Zhao saw Emohan, he immediately grinned. "We meet again. I've never missed a man so much. You're the first. You should feel honored." Emohan couldn't keep his cool anymore. He couldn't keep his cool either. After all, the strong airflow made it hard for people to stand still, let alone face a terrifying enemy. Emohan finally steadied himself. He cast a spell without hesitation. But this time, Chun Zhao wouldn't give him the chance to do it. Chun Zhao instantly appeared before Emohan. "Ah!" Emohan screamed in agony. His palms were crushed by Chun Zhao. Then, Emohan felt like his scalp was about to be torn apart. He and the man were dragged out of the plane by Chun Zhao by the hair. While the two were in a panic, they also saw Emohan's private plane falling from the sky, emitting black smoke. Soon, Chun Zhao threw the two into the pure, white snow on the ground. This was the border of China, near Changbai Mountain. The temperature here was below 0 all year round. Especially at this time of the year, the temperature could reach minus 20 degrees Celsius. Moreover, the altitude here was high, and the lack of oxygen, low temperature, and strong cold air were fatal threats to any living creature that came close. Even humans at the top of the food chain would find it hard to adapt to the environment here. However, Chun Zhao was not the only one who found it hard to adapt. This was a territory that no human had ever occupied. The heaven and earth spiritual chi here was much denser than in other places. However, as a cultivator, it was very difficult for Emohan to enjoy the heaven and earth spiritual chi here. Before he could enjoy the heaven and earth spiritual chi here, He first had to overcome the harsh environment here. How do I undo the spell? Chun Zhao asked directly. Emohan looked at Chun Zhao. Unless you can guarantee my safety, you'll never be able to undo the spell. Chun Zhao stepped forward and put his hand on Emohan's shoulder. Emohan thought Chun Zhao was going to attack him, but in the next moment, a warm current flowed into his body. Mohan was delighted in his heart. It seems like his threat had worked. Emohan rolled his eyes, seeing the other party compromise so easily. He might be able to get more benefits from him. Soon, Emohan discovered that his destroyed palms had miraculously regrown. Emohan raised his head and looked at Chun Zhao. He was about to ask for more. Chun Zhao said with a smile, "Compared to undo the spell, I want to torture you and destroy you." Ah, in the midst of Chun Zhao's cruel laughter, Emohan screamed again, and this time it was even more intense than before. Emohan's whole arm was crushed by Chun Zhao. "You won't die so easily. You will enjoy all the torture I know, all the torture I can think of." Chun Zhao looked at Emohan with a ferocious face. When the blood splashed out, it directly froze. Emohan was rolling around in the snow, wailing in pain. But when he was about to freeze to death, Chun Zhao gave him a life force. Chun Zhao looked at the contact person. He was curled up, not daring to make a sound. Even if he was about to freeze to death, he didn't dare to attract the attention of the devil. Just by looking at Emohan's miserable state, one could feel the fear of the contact person at this moment. "How much do you know?" Chun Zhao asked. "It's Zhang Ding." Zhang Ding found him. "Before today, I didn't know anything. He didn't attack you because he got the mission from me." The contact person answered truthfully. Chun Zhao closed his eyes silently. This answer was not out of his expectations. Chun Zhao had already guessed it before. Only Zhang Ding had enough power and money. He could hire a top assassin to assassinate him. But now, the contact person had turned his guess into reality. "Walk east from here. There's a village about 15 kilometers away. If you can walk out alive, it's your luck." The contact person opened his mouth. He wanted to beg. In this snowy environment, and with the clothes he was wearing, he couldn't even walk 5 kilometers. Not to mention 15 kilometers, he couldn't even walk 5 kilometers. But when he met Chun Zhao's cold gaze, he understood. He understood that Chun Zhao wouldn't care about his life or death. Chun Zhao was already being merciful by not killing him on the spot. And Chun Zhao didn't care whether the contact person lived or died. He was more interested in torturing Emohan. In the past, Emohan's image had always been unfathomable and pretentious. Coupled with his identity as a top assassin, every time he appeared, people would feel a chill down their spines. But now his image no longer existed. No one could maintain their cold and aloof image after being tortured again and again. Plus, Emohan wasn't that kind of person at all. The image he had in the past was just his persona. Assassins needed personas too. If a top assassin didn't have his own identity and persona, then what was the difference between him and ordinary assassins? Torturing one's enemy was very satisfying. Chun Zhao was almost addicted. Over and over again, he repeated the same thing tirelessly. Of course, Chun Zhao would still innovate. He would change his methods to torture Emohan, until Emohan begged Chun Zhao to free him. And he told Chun Zhao a truth. Previously, he'd resisted and wasn't willing to let go because he still had a sliver of hope. But as Chun Zhao's torture methods became more and more inhuman, he finally realized he definitely couldn't continue under Chun Zhao's inhuman methods. The 9 steps of the Viscera technique were unsolvable. Chapter 2681. Mao Mountain, the sacred land of Taoism for thousands of years. The Maoshan Taoist sect was also known as the Maoshan Celestial Master Sect. The Celestial Master Sect did not just refer to the Celestial Master Sect of Longhu Mountain. It was the inheritance of the Celestial Master Path. The Sage Sect had a total of 4 major orthodoxies. They were the legacies left behind by Zhang Daoling, Gohong, Su Sun, and Sa Shoujian. Among them, Mount Longhu's Celestial Master Sect inherited Zhang Daoling's teachings and developed to this day. Their foundation, power, and influence were the best. Next was the Mao Shan Celestial Master Sect, which used to be Gu Hong's Taoist site. Later on, when the emperor conferred the title of Celestial Master at the beginning of the Song dynasty, Gu Hong was given the title of Celestial Master and was bestowed with many Taoist classics. After 1,000 years of development, it became a Taoist holy land that was on par with Mount Longhu. The second was the Celestial Master Orthodoxy of Su Sun and Sa Shou. They did not leave behind a sect. Although they also had their own Taoist legacies, their reputation was far inferior to that of Mount Longhu and Mount Mao. Just like Dragon Tiger Mountain, Mao Mountain was divided into inner and outer sections. The Maoshan sect was also a national tourist attraction, but ordinary tourists could only come into contact with outer sections. Only the inner sect was the core of the Mao Mountain Sage sect. The cold wind at the beginning of the year had yet to pass. Then came the heavy rain, making the air even colder and more humid. Even Mao Mountain, which was always full of incense offerings, was now sparsely populated. However, today, the cold wind brought two uninvited guests. A well-dressed man in a suit and tie. Behind him was a figure wrapped in thick black clothes. Chun Zhao didn't like this weather. The humid air made his breath sticky. After crossing the 9 Melodies Sky ascending stairs, he passed by the Return Heaven Cave and the Treasure Pavilion of High Heaven. Chun Zhao was stopped by two young Taoists. "Gentlemen, this place is not open to the public. Please stay here." "Little brother, we're here to visit an old friend. We know Tao Lord Zhongding," Chun Zhao said with a smile. "A friend of the Taoist Lord?" The two Taoist priests hesitated. "Please wait a moment. We need to confirm." A Taoist priest took out a phone. "Hey, master, there are two gentlemen at the door. They say they are friends of the Tao Lord and are here to visit him." "What's your name? Where did he come from? Could you please leave your names?" "My surname is Chun. I'm good friends with Celestial Master Zhang of Mount Longhu. If it's inconvenient for you to contact Tao Lord Zhongding, you can contact him." Hearing that Chun Zhao knew Zhang Tianyi, the two Taoist priests were filled with deep respect. "Please come in." Although the Tao Lord is not at the mountain gate, he should be back in less than half a day. The two young Taoist priests felt that since the two dared to use Zhang Tianyi's name, their identities could not be faked. Moreover, they did not believe that the two of them would dare to cause trouble at Mao Mountain. Moreover, Chun Zhao looked very friendly and gave off a feeling of closeness. Of course, it was also possible that they didn't think that Chun Zhao was a bad person. As for the person behind Chun Zhao, who was covered by a black cloth, his face couldn't be seen. They knew that there were always some people in the spirit world who dressed strangely or were unwilling to show their faces to others. Chun Zhao entered the inner sect of Mao Mountain as he wished. If the outer sect was said to be picturesque, then the inner sect would be a paradise. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was the bell spirit of heaven and earth. It was almost as good as Chun Zhao's Mirror Lake Manor. After all, there was a super internal alchemy in Mirror Lake. It was a treasure left by Old Turtle. Rich spiritual energy was released at all times and blended with heaven and earth, making the Mirror Lake Manor seem like a heavenly paradise. Even the water of Mirror Lake had undergone incredible changes. Because of this, Dash and Beer used the water of Mirror Lake to brew beer of such high quality. The Mao Mountain intersect spiritual chi was slightly inferior to Mirror Lake. However, the area here was more than 10 times larger than Mirror Lake. The two Taoist priests led the way and explained the various attractions in the intersect to Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao had to admit that they were qualified tour guides. They introduced the various attractions in great detail. That's the Yao Ceiling Tower. Since ancient times, countless monsters, demon kings, and demons have been suppressed under it. One of the young Taoist priests pointed at a 70% pagoda not far away. His tone was somewhat proud. "Yao Ceiling Tower? Isn't that from Shu Mountain?" "Haha, there's no Shu Mountain in China's spirit world. In the spirit world, Shu Mountain is the three-sword sects of Amei, Qingsheng, and Walla Mountain," the young Taoist priest said. The three-sword sects can't compare to Mao Mountain's Celestial Masters sect. Also, the three-sword sects of Shu Mountain don't have a Yao ceiling tower either. It's just something made up in movies. Then are the monsters in the Yao ceiling tower still alive? Is it still called suppressing if they're dead? That's true. Chen Zhao chuckled and rubbed his nose. Sir, you seem to be unfamiliar with the situation of the spirit world in China. Yes, I just came back from abroad. No wonder. By the way, why are you only suppressing these monsters? Why don't you just get rid of them? Won't there be future problems? Sir, there's something you don't understand. The young Taoist priest spoke like an expert. Although the cultivation results of monsters and humans are different, the cultivation process of monsters is actually very similar to that of humans. They both use the spiritual qi of heaven and earth as a supplement. When a monster cultivates a monster core, it can be converted into spiritual qi of heaven and earth through the qi refinement rejuvenation array. The reason why Mao Mountain has such spiritual qi of heaven and earth is because of the qi refinement rejuvenation array, which is provided by the many monsters in the Yao ceiling tower. That's the cloud observation platform. Apparently, the first Taoist master, Gu Hong, comprehended the Tao on that platform. Although Gu Hong was from the Jin dynasty, he was conferred the title of Taoist master in the early Song dynasty. Not only was he conferred the title of Taoist master, but he was also conferred the title of God. Of course, ancient emperors liked to play this game. They conferred the title of some famous religious figures in the past to show their orthodoxy. In the eyes of emperors, as long as they conferred the title of God on someone, they seemed to have obtained the authority of God. Of course, giving themselves the authority of God seemed to be a bit self-deceiving. However, ancient people liked to play this game. Not only did they confer the title of God on others, but they also liked to confer the title of God on themselves. Throughout the ages, many people were conferred the title of God or Taoist master. However, those who were truly recognized and passed down to the present day were few and far between. At that moment, an old Taoist priest came from the opposite side. When the old Taoist priest saw Chen Zhao also made eye contact with him. This old Taoist priest was the goateed old Taoist priest who had gotten into a conflict with him at Hanwang Mountain. The goateed Taoist priest's expression changed as soon as he saw Chen Zhao. It's you. Why are you here? I'm here to visit Taoist Master Zhang, of course. Chen Zhao had a faint smile on his face. The Maoshan sect is not that close to you. Get out of the Maoshan sect right now, or you'll be in trouble. The two young Taoist priests who had been welcoming the tour guide warmly could not help but have strange expressions on their faces when they saw the attitude of their seniors toward Chen Zhao. Come on, show me, Chen Zhao said with a smile. Chapter 2682. The goatee's expression was extremely dark, but he didn't make a move. After all, he had suffered at Chen Zhao's hands a few days ago. Even Zhang Ding was pressed to the ground by Chen Zhao. The goatee took out a talisman and threw it into the sky. The talisman flew into the sky as if it defied the laws of physics. When it reached 100 meters in the air, it turned into a beautiful firework with a boom. The two young Taoist priests saw the goatee take out an emergency talisman and immediately backed away from Chen Zhao. They looked at Chen Zhao and the person behind him warily. Soon, the inner sect disciples of the Maoshan sect arrived one after another. Hunyang, why did you use an emergency talisman? An older Taoist priest asked. Master, this person is a great enemy of our sect. We had a conflict a few days ago, and he humiliated the Maoshan sect and the Taoist lord in public, the goatee said selectively. The old Taoist frowned and turned to look at Chen Zhao, then at the man in black behind him. Sir, why have you trespassed on a Maoshan sect? If you can't explain yourself today, I'm afraid neither of us will have a good time. The white-clothed old Taoist's tone seemed to be impartial, but in reality, it was somewhat aggressive. I've never thought about a good time, Chen Zhao said coolly. If you can't give me an answer today, I'm afraid I'll have to end your lineage today. You, how dare you? The old Taoist was so angry that he glared at Chen Zhao. I like to see how you're going to end the lineage of Maoshan. The old Taoist pulled out his sword. It was a long sword that seemed to be made of iron and wood. The blade was dark red, but it had a metallic sheen to it. Both sides of the blade were engraved with indecipherable runes. Heaven and earth are infinite. Borrow the power of heaven and earth. Above is the sky, below is the thick earth. Follow me, pardon. The old Taoist used a killing move right off the bat, the Nine Heavens Thunder Mantra. Boom! A bolt of purple lightning fell from the sky, but it didn't land on Chun Zhao's head. Instead, it was attracted by the old Taoist's long sword and landed on the tip. The old Taoist was unharmed, but the dark red long sword flashed with lightning. Chun Zhao suddenly moved and appeared before the old Taoist in a flash. The old Taoist widened his eyes and swung his sword at Chun Zhao's head. Chun Zhao raised his fist and swung it at the dark red sword. A terrifying electric current surged into his body. However, Chun Zhao was least afraid of thunder spells. Therefore, the fist momentum did not stop at all, and the terrifying force directly penetrated the dark red longsword. The dark red longsword broke. At the same time, the force did not completely dissipate. It flowed along the sword and into the old Taoist's palm. The white-clothed old Taoist screamed miserably. His palms had already been destroyed by this power. The white-robed old Taoist hurriedly retreated and shouted, "Heavenly venerable demon, subduing array, activate." 9 elderly Taoist priests immediately stepped forward and set up a large formation. The Celestial Lord Demon Subduing Formation was the great protective formation of the Maoshan sect. It was called Subduing Demons, but in reality, regardless of whether one was a demon or a ghost, good or evil, as long as they entered this formation, they would most likely die. Chun Zhao condensed a small black ball between his fingers. He randomly chose a Taoist priest in the formation and shot out. Heaven and Earth Reversal. Stars Reversal. The Taoist priest flicked his long sword, and the small black ball that was as heavy as 10,000 caddies was actually lifted up by him, changing its trajectory. The Taoist priest could only see the Taoist priest deflecting 1,000 caddies with little effort. He turned his body, and with a flick of his long sword, the small black ball actually flew back to him. Chun Zhao tilted his head slightly, and the black ball flew past his side. Unorthodox demon. The Taoist priest in the center of the formation shouted, full of vigor, "Today, you won't be able to return alive." Chun Zhao sneered. He lifted a finger and another black ball condensed. This one was 100 times heavier than the previous one. Chun Zhao threw it at the Taoist priest again. The Taoist priest responded with the same move. But as soon as the blade touched the black ball, it felt a terrifying force. The blade was slightly bent. Clearly, it was too strong. Brothers and sisters, help me subdue the demon. The heavenly venerable demon subduing array was a combination of offense and defense. It combined the strength of 9 people and applied it to one body. Moreover, all 9 of them had extraordinary cultivation. Any one of them would be a top cultivator outside, let alone 9 of them working together. However, the difference between their cultivation and Chun Zhao's was too huge. It was so huge that it couldn't be calculated. The Taoist priest combined the strength of 9 people, but still couldn't return the black ball to Chun Zhao. He could only barely change the trajectory of the black ball. But just when he thought that the black ball had changed its trajectory, the black ball suddenly exploded. Boom! The 9 Taoist priests were sent flying at the same time. Even the Maoshan Taoist priests outside were knocked down by the shockwave. "Pick up a sword and cut off the hands of those 9 cow noses," Chun Zhao said fiercely. In reality, he had been rather restrained. So far, no one had died. After all, the Maoshan sect was different from the Wanren Society. No matter how many connections the Wanren Society had, they couldn't escape from being an evil organization. But the Maoshan sect was different. No matter how many dirty things they had done behind the scenes, at least on the surface, they were a religious organization recognized by the government and the people. Even Chun Zhao had to think about the consequences of going on a killing spree. If Chun Zhao went too far and stirred up some people's nerves, by then, Chun Zhao would have to face more than just the Maoshan sect. If everyone was a martial artist and used the rules of the martial world to decide life and death, Chen Zhao would dare to make the Maoshan sect disappear. But when it came to the country and the government, no matter how tough Chen Zhao was, he had to think about it first. It had nothing to do with right or wrong, good or evil. It was just a matter of tolerance. No matter how reasonable Chen Zhao was, he wouldn't allow a killing spree in a place like the Maoshan sect. When the government felt that you affected the political situation or social stability, the government would directly suppress you and then reason with you. The person behind Chen Zhao picked up a sword from the ground and walked forward step by step. He was about to slash at the first Taoist priest on the ground. "How dare you!" A loud rebuke was heard. The man in black seemed to be frozen. He couldn't bring his sword down no matter how hard he tried. A green shadow attacked, and the black-clothed man let out a muffled groan as he was sent flying. It was a seemingly young female Taoist priest, Qingping Jinren. The old Taoist priest in white went forward and bowed. "What's going on?" the female Taoist priest asked sternly. These two dared to offend the Maoshan holy ground. They must be evil. Qingping Jinren's eyes were like a hawk's as he looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao didn't plan to explain. He suddenly attacked Qingping Jinren. This time, Chen Zhao used his full strength the moment he attacked. This female Taoist priest was worthy of his full strength. She was a Shangqing realm cultivator. Qingping Jinren's expression changed drastically in an instant. They were both in the Shangqing realm, but she felt an unprecedented danger. Chapter 2683. Chen Zhao raised his right arm made of gold and punched at Qingping. However, when his fist was swung halfway, the power disappeared like a clay ox entering the sea. The next moment, Qingping spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. "Sir, what grudge do you have at the Mao Mountain?" Qingping was shocked. Not only was the person in front of her also at the Shangqing stage, but his cultivation and combat ability far surpassed hers. She didn't understand where this monster in front of her had come from. Such cultivation and combat ability. She was heavily injured in just one round. "Where is Zhang Ding?" Chen Zhao asked calmly. "Today, only one of them can live." "Sir, do you know that bullying the weak is taboo? The major sects of Huaxia will not allow you to do this." "The major sects of Huaxia? Ask Zhang Tianyi if he dares to say this to me. I'll leave it at that. If we fight to the death, you won't feel good even if I'm not your match." Qingping looked at Chen Zhao with a cold expression. "I don't feel good? You should think about whether your mountain disciples deserve to die." Chen Zhao's eyes were full of murderous intent. He turned to the man in black. "Mohan, do it. I'll kill anyone who dares to stop me." The man in black was once a top-level assassin, Mohan. Now, he was forced to become Chen Zhao's dog. Mohan hesitated, then raised his sword again. "Don't you dare!" Taoist Qingping shouted. But this time, she couldn't stop Mohan. A black ball appeared in the sky. A terrifying black ball. It was a neutron star formed by Chen Zhao's small world. Even if Chen Zhao didn't use the meteor technique, he could destroy most of the Mao Mountain intersect. Qingping's eyes narrowed. Her cultivation was very high, so she could feel the terrifying and destructive power contained in the black ball. It wasn't very big, and it wasn't much different from the black ball from before. If she dared to do anything, Chen Zhao would release the neutron star. This also made her cautious. After all, Chen Zhao was alone, but her disciples and grand-disciples were here. So, she couldn't take the risk. Mohan's sword fell, accompanied by the pitiful screams of a disciple. His arm was chopped off. Taoist Master Qingping glared angrily, and a terrifying aura began to erupt from his body. And this aura began to suppress Mohan's movements. Mohan's face, which was wrapped in black cloth, became extremely distorted. Not only did he feel Sage Qingping's aura, but he also felt Chen Zhao's pressure on him. Chen Zhao looked at the Yao ceiling pagoda with an evil smile. Sensing Chen Zhao's gaze, perfected Master Qingping cursed inwardly. "Sir, no matter what grudges you have with my Mao Mountain, you've already brought great losses to my Mao Mountain. Why must you be so overbearing?" "Overbearing? Today, I'm just teaching you a lesson. Choosing an idiot as the sect leader will bring a lot of losses to the sect. The neutron star above Chen Zhao's head shot toward the Yao ceiling tower. Perfected Qing Ping could no longer care about Chen Zhao. She had to stop Chen Zhao's madness. The importance of the demon banishing pagoda was undeniable to the Maoshan sect. It could even be said that the Yao ceiling pagoda was the lifeline of the Maoshan sect. If the Yao ceiling pagoda was lost, then the beautiful scenery of the Maoshan sect would become mediocre. Perhaps it wouldn't affect much in 1 or 2 generations, but it would be difficult for it to be passed down for another 1,000 years. Perfected Master Qing Ping stood in front of the neutron star. Her little world spun wildly. When the neutron star entered her little world, she could already feel that it was almost infinite. But even so, she couldn't take a step back. The Yao ceiling pagoda was more important than anyone in the Maoshan sect, even more important than her. Her little world tried its best to stop the neutron star's trajectory. But at that moment, Chen Zhao appeared in front of Perfected Master Qing Ping. Chen Zhao grabbed Perfected Master Qing Ping's neck with one hand. Perfected Master Qing Ping's cultivation was very high, but her combat ability was really mediocre. Chen Zhao pressed Perfected Master Qing Ping to the ground and stepped on her with one foot. "Come here, use the dirty technique on her too." Emohan trembled. He dared to use the dirty technique on Chen Zhao because he didn't know what kind of person Chen Zhao was. But that didn't mean he dared to use it on Perfected Master Qing Ping. Perfected Master Qing Ping was a legend of the previous generation. Her reputation was close to that of the current Celestial Master Zhang. In terms of seniority, she was 1 generation higher than Celestial Master Zhang. Chen Zhao wanted him to use the dirty technique on Perfected Master Qing Ping. If that happened, there would probably be no place for him in the entire spiritual world. But when Chen Zhao turned his cold gaze, Emohan couldn't help but shiver. "Hurry up! Don't test my patience," Chen Zhao urged. "Mr. Chen, I really can't." Emohan was about to cry. "If you dare to use the dirty technique on me, why don't you use it on her? Are you looking down on me?" "I'm not. I don't know." Emohan didn't know that he was just helping an old friend solve a small problem. He didn't think that it would cause such a huge problem. The Great North Island, the Wanderin Association, and the Giant Serpent were all destroyed because of this. And now, it was the Maoshan sect's turn. He didn't expect Chen Zhao to be so bold. He was actually planning to go against the top sect all by himself. "Stop!" Just then, Zhang Tiany's voice came from afar. Chen Zhao looked over and saw Zhang Tiany flying toward him from afar. "Old Zhang, you're here to play too? Are you here to burn incense or read your fortune?" Zhang Tiany's expression darkened. Chen Zhao was still joking with him at a time like this. "Chen Zhao, why are you doing this? Do you know the consequences of doing this?" When he received the message, it was from someone he had planted in the inner sect of Maoshan sect. At first, he thought that it was fake news. Someone had come to the Maoshan sect to cause trouble. This kind of news seemed fake no matter how he looked at it. But when he did his divination, he realized that the situation had changed. That was why he hurried to Maoshan sect using greater teleportation and distance reduction. Consequences? My attack on the Maoshan sect will have serious consequences. So if the Maoshan sect attacks me, the consequences won't be serious? Old John, is that what you mean? You're talking about what happened that night. Isn't it settled? I thought it was settled, but then Zhang Ding plotted against me. Him? Plotted against you? How could he do that? Others might not know, but I do. How could someone of his level of training be able to plot against you? Unfortunately, he succeeded. Oh, that's him. He was hired by Zhang Ding. It took me a lot of effort to catch him. Zhang Tiany frowned. He still couldn't be sure of the situation, but he could tell that Mo Han's level of training was far below Chen Zhao's. How was he supposed to plot against Chen Zhao? Was this a joke? This was all Zhang Ding's doing. It has nothing to do with anyone else in Maoshan sect. Old Zhang, aren't you ashamed to say that? Chen Zhao smirked at Zhang Tiany. Zhang Ding is a heavenly master and a Taoist of the Maoshan sect. You're telling me that what he did has nothing to do with the Maoshan sect? Chapter 2684. Zhang Tianyi was speechless. The actions of a sect leader naturally represented the power of the sect behind him. If Zhang Ding was plotting against Chen Zhao could naturally go to the Mao Mountain sect. I stand by what I said. Either I destroy Zhang Ding today, or I destroy the Maoshan sect. Don't you dare, madman. Qingping Zhenren had just escaped from Chen Zhao's grasp, and he was already threatening him again. It was not exactly harsh words, but Zhang Ding represented the Maoshan sect no matter what. No matter what happened to Zhang Ding after this, he couldn't hand him over to an outsider. Chen Zhao turned to look at Qingping Zhenren. I mean what I say. What if I don't allow it? Zhang Tianyi asked. Old Zhang, we've known each other for quite some time now, but we've never really decided who's better. Since we can't argue, why don't we use this opportunity to decide who's the winner? Chen Zhao stretched his limbs. You want to protect the Maoshan sect, and I want to destroy it. Let's talk with our fists. Zhang Tianyi frowned. He actually supported Chen Zhao's argument. No matter where it was, the bigger fists made the most sense. However, he was there to uphold justice, not to fight for the Maoshan sect. If this had happened on Dragon Tiger Mountain, he wouldn't have said a word. The problem was that the Maoshan sect had nothing to do with him. It was Chen Zhao. Zhenren Zhang, please help the Maoshan sect, Qingping Zhenren said. In terms of cultivation, she was second only to Zhang Tianyi, and in terms of seniority, she was one generation above him. Logically speaking, Zhang Tianyi should have bowed to her. But now, she had no choice but to beg Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi sighed. Chen Zhao, there's no need for me to say anything else. Come. Chen Zhao took a deep breath and walked 100 steps in front of Zhang Tianyi. Everyone present held their breaths as they watched the two of them. Chen Zhao, you go first. Let me see how different your little realm is from mine. Zhang Tianyi didn't dare to be careless. Chen Zhao's cultivation was higher than his, and his combat ability was also much higher. Of course, combat ability didn't mean everything. Chen Zhao naturally had his advantages, but he also had his disadvantages. Chen Zhao's half-closed eyes suddenly widened. At that moment, Zhang Tianyi felt the overwhelming power that Chen Zhao had given him. Zhang Tianyi put his hands behind his back, but there was already a bundle of golden ropes in his hands. Chen Zhao stomped on the ground and shot forward. The stone floor he'd been standing on was completely shattered. Zhang Tianyi's speed was also extremely fast. The golden rope in his hand flew out. Bang! Instantly, Chen Zhao realized that Zhang Tianyi's golden rope had automatically wrapped around him. Without thinking, Chen Zhao tried to break the golden rope. However, he realized that he couldn't break the golden rope. Zhang Tianyi grinned. Boy, you're still too inexperienced to fight me. This is the mixed alchemy golden rope, the treasure of our Dragon Tiger Mountain. No matter how strong you are, you can't break it. Chen Zhao didn't move either. He said calmly, Old Zhang, who are you trying to fool? There's nothing that can't be broken. If you can't break free, it just means that you don't have enough strength. Then do you have enough strength? Zhang Tianyi didn't refute Chen Zhao's words. Chen Zhao lowered his head. Zhang Tianyi vaguely felt that something was wrong. The mixed alchemy golden rope was a treasure passed down by the Celestial Masters sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain. In theory, no matter how strong one was, they couldn't break the mixed alchemy golden rope. The mixed alchemy golden rope had gone through many battles and had many achievements. There was no enemy that it couldn't tie up, be it a powerful demon, a great evil, or a devil incarnate. As long as one was tied up, no one could break free. Suddenly, Zhang Tianyi felt that Chen Zhao's small world had disappeared. The terrifying power that had been fighting against his small world had disappeared. Where's your small world? Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao in disbelief. Because to him, this was like discovering a new continent. Didn't you want to see my recent cultivation success and the new use of the small world? Chen Zhao raised his head and looked at Zhang Tianyi. When the small world is strengthened to a certain level, it will completely fuse with one's body and be able to release and retract freely. One can also receive the full support of the small world. Just then, the mixed alchemy golden rope that was tied to Chen Zhao suddenly shot out rays of golden light. The mixed alchemy golden rope seemed to have received a huge impact. Chun Zhao didn't know what material the mixed alchemy golden rope was made of. It could actually resist a pulling force of 1,000,000,000 tons. According to scientific theory, there was no material in the world that could make a rope that could resist a pulling force of 1,000,000,000 tons. What was 1,000,000,000 tons? It was a force that could deform the surface of a continent in a small area. Take tall buildings, for example. Skyscrapers that were tens of millions of tons were almost the limit. Therefore, the development of the construction industry wasn't just getting taller, it was also getting lighter. Reinforced concrete could make buildings taller, but it also made them heavier. So, the tallest buildings in the world were basically the peak of the current technological level. Before finding lighter materials, it would be very difficult to break through in height. But now, a rope that was as thick as a finger could resist his power? Chun Zhao even felt that if he stole the rope and sold it to some research institute, he might be able to get a good price. Of course, this thought only flashed through his mind. If he didn't break the rope today, he would lose all his dignity. Chun Zhao gathered his thoughts and didn't hold back anymore. Thunder boomed from Chun Zhao's body. It was a sign of a terrifying power exploding. Seeing this, Zhang Tiany's scalp went numb. He wanted to take back the mixed alchemy golden rope. But the mixed alchemy golden rope seemed to have lost its connection. Ah! Chun Zhao yelled. Bang, bang, bang. Loud and rough sounds came from Chun Zhao's body. The mixed alchemy golden rope finally snapped under Chun Zhao's power. At the same time, Chun Zhao's terrifying power spread out in the air. Everyone nearby was shaken to the ground. Even spiritual master Qingping, who was standing slightly closer, was pushed back several meters. Taoist master Qingping's expression changed drastically. That guy's aura became even more terrifying, and he became even more troublesome. Chun Zhao looked at Zhang Tiany. You attacked first. Now it's my turn. Zhang Tiany's face twitched. Fuck, this isn't around. Looking at the destroyed, mixed alchemy golden rope on the ground, he really wanted to rush over and take it back. But he knew that if he went over now, Chun Zhao would probably punch him to death. Chun Zhao, we're old friends. Let's not overdo it. Chapter 2685. If I don't fuck you up today, it's my loss. Chun Zhao's palm, face down and grabbed. A black ball appeared in his palm. The small world was added to his body, giving him an unprecedented feeling of explosion. Chun Zhao suddenly leaped up. Clenching his fists, he smashed them down at Zhang Tiany. Zhang Tiany's heart skipped a beat. If this pair of fists landed on him, the consequences would be unimaginable. Zhang Tiany's feet sped forward, his steps difficult to understand. His hands also quickly formed a seal. Primordial bell. A huge golden bell appeared above Zhang Tiany. It wasn't a physical object, but it gave off an ancient and sturdy feeling. Chun Zhao's fists still smashed down like meteors. Boom! A terrifying shockwave swept in all directions. The originally flat ground was instantly shattered into pieces. In the truest sense, it was torn apart. The people nearby were affected too. Chun Zhao was surprised. The defensive spell hadn't been broken. The ground couldn't withstand the power released by the bell and shattered. At the moment, Zhang Tiany was already in the air. Zhang Tiany glanced at Chun Zhao and then at the surroundings. Perfected Master Qingping. Tell everyone to retreat. A battle between two enchanting cultivators wasn't something normal cultivators could watch. If they were careless, the scene would be littered with corpses. Perfected Master Qingping only felt bitter. This was the Mao Mountain intersect. How could the people of the Mao Mountain intersect retreat? Why do they have to let two outsiders fight here? If they were to retreat, where could they retreat to? Chun Zhao didn't care about his surroundings. Seeing that his fist didn't shatter the bell, he punched again. Chun Zhao didn't hold back at all. Every punch was filled with all his strength. It wasn't earth-shattering, but it shouldn't be a problem to destroy mountains. But now, he couldn't even break one of Zhang Tiany's defensive spells. This made Chun Zhao very doubtful about his own abilities. But Zhang Tiany didn't feel good inside the bell either. He hadn't worked so hard since the big incident 20 years ago. In fact, the situation this time was even more troublesome than the incident 20 years ago. Regardless of what the two were thinking, they were indeed in a stalemate. Chen Zhao couldn't break Zhang Tiany's defensive spell. Zhang Tiany couldn't fight back. The primordial chaos bell was a spell created by Zhang Tiany himself. In fact, it was developed recently. Not long ago, he found out that Chen Zhao had recruited a group of people who were involved in Chinese comics to help him develop new moves. Zhang Tiany was not idle either. He had also formed a small team of his own. They weren't as rich as Chen Zhao, but they were still a professional team. In fact, it wasn't just Zhang Tiany. The 23rd generation Blood Mary and Bifla had also formed their own teams. This primordial flood bell was developed by Zhang Tiany's team. In fact, Zhang Tiany's team was just providing an idea. Zhang Tiany had to take responsibility for the real technical problems. However, it had to be said that this defensive spell was indeed very powerful. At the very least, the fact that it could block Chen Zhao meant that the spell was indestructible. However, this spell was only suitable for Zhang Tiany. No one else would be able to use it. Even Chen Zhao couldn't use it. This was because this spell required a large number of complex theories, and it also required a large amount of magic power as a backing. Chen Zhao only fulfilled one requirement: mana. After punching more than 10 times, Chen Zhao finally retreated 100 meters. Zhang Tiany looked at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao, give up. You can't break my defense. My spell is undefeatable. It could be said that as long as this spell existed, Zhang Tiany dared to take a 1,000,000-ton nuclear attack. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes and looked at Zhang Tiany. You know that there's no such thing as an unbreakable defense in this world. But can you surpass this threshold? Threshold. This was what Zhang Tiany had learned from his team. This was a scientific term. Ordinary people would say it was an upper limit. Another black ball formed in Chen Zhao's hand. This time, he didn't throw it out directly. Instead, he continued to strengthen it. Zhang Tiany could instinctively sense danger. Looking at the black ball in Chen Zhao's hand, he had a bad feeling. Come, take this big move. If you don't die, I'll admit defeat. Chen Zhao didn't plan on stopping. The black ball's weight had already surpassed 2 billion tons. It was growing to an even more shocking number. Chen Zhao, that's enough. Zhang Tiany strengthened the spell at the right time. I'm teaching you how to be a person. Those who meddle in other people's business are usually beaten to death first, Chen Zhao said maliciously. Seeing that the two were still in the mood to bicker, Qing Ping, who was far away, cursed inwardly. Can't you respect the victim? At the moment, Mo Han was conflicted. If he could escape alive this time, then he could at least brag to others. Just like the Bengal tiger, he dared to say that he and Celestial Master Zhang had fought face to face. If you want me to be number one in the world, you need to train for a few more years. I can't wait to beat number one in the world. You took too long to prepare this move. Are you constipated? I prepared it for you. Of course, it has to be big and strong. Qing Ping regretted asking Zhang Tiany to help. You guys can fight, but can you not make such inappropriate jokes in such a serious situation? Have you considered our feelings? Of course, jokes are just jokes. When it came to battle, they were all serious. Since they couldn't kill the opponent, they would fight to the death. 20 minutes later, a terrifying neutron star was formed. The size didn't change, but the quality couldn't be compared to before. This time, Chen Zhao didn't push it. Instead, he used the method of a baseball thrower. Here it comes. Get ready to catch. Zhang Tiany stopped smiling and became more serious than ever. Golden light flowed on the primordial bell and enveloped Zhang Tiany. With Zhang Tiany's help, 8 cryptic golden runes appeared on the primordial bell. Each of the 8 golden runes emitted a mystical aura. The Mao Mountain Taoist priests in the distance almost vomited blood when they saw the golden runes. Don't look. Those are heavenly book runes. You don't have the ability to understand. Just looking at them will damage your cultivation, Qing Ping hurriedly shouted. Even she felt dizzy when she saw the golden runes. One could imagine how cryptic the golden runes were. Every golden rune represented countless pieces of information. If you wanted to know what the golden runes represented, you had to ask yourself if your brain capacity was enough. Chun Zhao, on the other hand, had enough cultivation and a one-track mind. He didn't even think about what the golden runes represented, so it didn't affect him. The strongest spear and the strongest shield were about to fight. Suddenly, the Yao ceiling tower fell. Chapter 2686. They were having a good time just now. No one cared about the impact. Even the people of the Maoshan sect didn't notice. In the end, the shockwaves from their fight caused the Yao ceiling tower to collapse. The first to rush out of the ruins were a dozen monsters. Those monsters had been suppressed for who knew how many generations. They had long lost their minds. As soon as they came out, they attacked everyone that appeared in their line of sight without any explanation. Of course, that included Chun Zhao and Zhang Tianyi. For Chun Zhao and Zhang Tianyi, it was just a matter of frowning. Well, that was their reaction. The sudden situation had interrupted their fight. In fact, they didn't plan on fighting to the death today. They just wanted to test each other's strength. Chun Zhao held back, and Zhang Tianyi didn't use his full strength either. The people of the Maoshan sect, on the other hand, didn't have it easy. Qingping Jinren was injured at the moment, and he had to protect his disciples. With the attacks coming from both sides, he seemed to be in danger. Zhang Tianyi wanted to go and help, but he suddenly felt a cold glint. If you go and help, I'll throw this into the crowd. Stop messing around. Zhang Tianyi suddenly threw a note to Chun Zhao secretly. Chun Zhao looked at the note. It contained Zhang Ding's current location, his contact information, and even his lover outside. Chun Zhao hesitated for a moment, but finally decided to give up on the idea of going against the Maoshan sect. At that moment, a green-faced wolf monster pounced at Chun Zhao with bloodshot eyes. Chun Zhao glanced at the green-faced wolf demon. The moment he raised his hand, thousands of threads formed from magical power pierced through the demon's body. The blue-faced wolf demon's body turned into a bloody mist. At the same time, Qingping Jinren, who was not far away, suddenly narrowed his eyes. Chun Zhao also felt Qingping Jinren's gaze. The monster in front of Daoist Master Qingping was also killed in one move by Daoist Master Qingping in the same way. How do you know the Qingyi spell? Qingping Jinren growled. Chun Zhao looked at Qingping Jinren disapprovingly. What does it have to do with you? At that moment, he really did have the right to say that. So what if Qingping Jinren was a senior? So what if her cultivation and status were high? In front of Chun Zhao, she was nothing. Qingping Jinren wasn't going to let this go. You know Li Qing? It's none of your business. Daoist Master Qingping was somewhat annoyed, but she still suppressed her anger reluctantly. I'm Li Qing's grandmother, said Daoist Master Qingping. Chun Zhao was stunned and looked at Qingping in shock. His mind was in a mess. Could it be that the Black Robe sect and my sect were mortal enemies? Li Qing was Zhou Yinan's aunt, and Daoist Master Qingping in front of him was Zhou Yinan's great-grandmother. Since all of her descendants had been killed by the Black Robe sect, how could she, as a grandmother, continue to hold her position in the Maoshan sect? Moreover, Chun Zhao still hadn't figured out which faction perfected Qingping belonged to. The relationship network of the Maoshan sect was very messy anyway. So what? Chun Zhao still maintained his cautious attitude. He neither admitted nor denied it. However, he thought of his relationship with Li Qing. She had hit her grandmother. She wouldn't blame him, right? What's your relationship with Li Qing? Spiritual Master Qingping asked again. Chun Zhao didn't want to stay here anymore. He was about to turn around and leave. But Daoist Master Qingping was not having it. Suddenly, green threads shot out from the ground around Chun Zhao, wrapping around him. Chun Zhao frowned. This was the Qingyi sect's 3,000 feet green silk. Of course, this spell couldn't stop Chun Zhao. However, Chun Zhao didn't break free immediately. Instead, he turned around. Do you want to die? Where's Li Qing now? Facing Daoist Master Qingping's question, Chun Zhao could only reply coldly. Based on Chun Zhao's understanding of Li Qing. Back then, she went abroad because her son and daughter-in-law were living abroad. Therefore, she also went abroad to live with her son and daughter-in-law. Later, Her son and daughter-in-law died in a car accident. That was why she had nowhere to go. But now, the situation seemed to be different from what he had imagined. Or rather, Li Qing's reason for going abroad was far more complicated than she had said. Just then, Zhang Tianyi came to smooth things over. "Qin Zhao, you haven't left yet? I wanted to leave, but she wouldn't let me. Looks like she wants to fight me," Chen Zhao said with a fierce expression. "He has the orthodoxy of the Qingyi sect," spiritual master Qing Ping said, pointing at Chen Zhao. Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao. He was a little surprised, but not too shocked. In the past, when Zhang Tianyi had interacted with Chen Zhao, he had noticed that Chen Zhao's aura and methods had traces of Taoism. Most of Chen Zhao's moves were close-range combat or physical attacks. However, the aura would have certain characteristics. Of course, it was not surprising for Chen Zhao to know some Taoist techniques. After all, for Chen Zhao, if he really wanted to obtain an orthodoxy, it wouldn't be too much of a problem. "Are you from a Qingyi sect or the Maoshan sect?" Chen Zhao asked. "The Qingyi sect is the Maoshan sect, but the Maoshan sect is not the Qingyi sect." Chen Zhao looked at Qing Ping coldly. This kind of ambiguous answer did not satisfy him. "Either you get out of the way now, or I'll help Qingyi sect get rid of you." Qing Ping was not afraid of Chen Zhao's threat. "Then what identity did you use to help Qingyi sect clean up the sect?" Chen Zhao ignored Qing Ping and turned to look at Zhang Tianyi. "Old Zhang, based on her behavior, can I directly judge it as a malicious provocation?" Zhang Tianyi looked at Chen Zhao, then at Qing Ping. "How about I play host, and you two find a place to talk peacefully? I have nothing to talk about with her. Don't anyone know about Li Qing's past? I don't know any Li Qing or Zhang Qing, and I've never heard of the Qingyi sect. The Qingyi sect has a 1,000-year history of one master and one disciple, so you must be Li Qing's disciple." When Qing Ping looked at Chen Zhao, his eyes shone with a fiery light. Before, she had hated Chen Zhao to the bone, but now, her attitude was completely different. If Chen Zhao was a disciple of the Qingyi sect, then they would be family. On the other hand, Zhang Ding would be an outsider. Moreover, the internal conflict of the Maoshan sect was no longer an invasion. The meaning was different, and there was no need for the internal conflict to escalate. The Maoshan sect would also retain its dignity. Moreover, Chen Zhao was a peerless master who could compete with Zhang Tianyi. This would be a happy occasion for both the Maoshan sect and the Qingyi sect. Of course, all of this was under the premise that Chen Zhao was willing to accept this identity. "I'm not." Chen Zhao's expression was cold, without any hesitation. Chapter 2687. Of course, Qingping Jinren wouldn't let it end like this. But then, Chen Zhao's eyes narrowed. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Emohan. "I hate people who leave without saying goodbye." Emohan's expression froze. He clenched his teeth and looked at Chen Zhao. "You've tortured me for so long. It's about time I paid you back. Are you really going to kill me?" "Paid you back? Remove the spell on me, and we'll call it a day." Chen Zhao looked at Emohan coldly. After fighting for so long, Chen Zhao felt hungry again. When Chen Zhao's eyes started to turn bloodshot, Emohan's heart went cold. He knew what the consequences of his spell would be. Emohan knew better than anyone else. No one had ever been like Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao had lasted for so long under the effects of the 9 Viscera techniques. But the more Chen Zhao did, the more afraid Emohan became. He didn't know when Chen Zhao would lose control. Once the person under the effects of the 9 Viscera techniques lost control, Emohan wouldn't even recognize his own family. He wouldn't dare to eat anything. Emohan was worried that he would become Chen Zhao's first unconventional food after he lost control. "Chen Zhao." Zhang Tianyi appeared behind Chen Zhao again. "What is it? How about this? Let us help you remove the spell, and we'll forget about your grudge with the Maoshan sect. What do you think?" Zhang Tianyi asked. "Do you know what spell I'm under?" "I don't, but I believe that with Qingping Jinren's cultivation and understanding, most spells in the world shouldn't be a problem for us." "Fine. If I can remove the spell, I won't trouble the Maoshan sect anymore." Then Zhang Ding, "The Maoshan sect is the Maoshan sect, and Zhongding is Zhongding. At this time, Chun Zhao separated the two. He would not let Zhongding go. That's not what you said before. Oh, so you're saying that you want to kill Zhongding and step over the bodies of all the Maoshan sect members? Chun Zhao sneered at Zhang Tianyi. Zhang Tianyi's face twitched. If he dared to say yes, Chun Zhao would really kill him. By the way, what kind of spell did you cast? I can see that you're alive and kicking, full of energy and full of vigor. You won't be able to find another person in the world who is as spirited and energetic as you are. You even caused a ruckus at the Maoshan sect, and I don't see anything unusual about you. Zhang Tianyi really couldn't tell what was wrong with Chun Zhao. The spell I was hit with was all thanks to him. Chun Zhao pointed at Mo Han and said. Zhang Tianyi narrowed his eyes and looked at Mo Han. He really couldn't see anything special about Mo Han. Originally, he had thought that someone who could trick Chun Zhao would at least have something special about them, even if they didn't have superhuman powers. But Mo Han did not have this kind of special temperament. Basically, Zhang Tianyi saw through Mo Han with a single glance. Come, tell Celestial Master Zhang about your proudest means. Chun Zhao patted Mo Han's shoulder. Mo Han shivered in front of Zhang Tianyi. One had to admit the importance of fame. Chun Zhao was no weaker than Zhang Tianyi, but Mo Han was only afraid of him. But towards Zhang Tianyi, Mo Han had an inexplicable sense of awe. This spell is called the 9 Viscera Techniques. Viscera? Zhang Tianyi asked. Viscera? Viscera actually referred to the area near Tibet. Viscera also referred to some strange spells in that area, because in the Qing dynasty, the biggest religion in that area was the Tantric Buddhism. They listed other religions as illegal. Other spells were also called dirty and unclean spells. Of course, there was nothing dirty or unclean about spells. Only people were unclean. However, Viscera mostly focused on using the innate 5 Qi, the secret of ghosts and gods, and the unannounced method to cast spells. It indeed didn't seem to be above board and did many secretive things. Therefore, even though Viscera was introduced to the Central Plains, it was still not very popular. Not many people knew about it, and even fewer people learned it. Yes, I derived it from the Viscera of the Tibetan area and added some things that I learned myself. Then it became the 9 Viscera Techniques. What is the 9 Viscera Techniques? Zhang Tianyi asked. This 9 Viscera Techniques is a combination of the 9 desires, just like the 9 sons of the dragon, Mo Han said. There is an ancient saying that the 9 sons of the dragon are different. Actually, this sentence implies that the heaven is divided into yin and yang and yang turn to the 3 pure ones. The 3 pure ones are turbid and the 9 desires. Originally, I wanted to create a cultivation method, but I didn't expect to accidentally create this strange move. However, my spell can only attract the appetite of one of the 9 desires. I originally thought that you were from the Naojin branch, but now that I heard about your understanding of Dharma, it seems that you are from the Jian branch. In my early years, I cultivated in the Naojin branch. Later, after I finished my apprenticeship, I followed by Ru to the Jian branch. My spells are all based on the Naojin branch, but I found that the 2 cultivation methods don't conflict with each other. In fact, they're somewhat compatible. The 9 Viscera Techniques is also created by combining the 2. Is there really no solution to this technique? Yes, there are 2 ways, Mo Han said. Chun Zhao immediately pricked up his ears. This guy said there was no solution. But when Zhang Tianyi asked, he actually said there were 2 ways. Was he looking down on him? When Chun Zhao looked at Mo Han, his eyes were immediately filled with hatred. It seemed that he had been too lenient. He would have to develop a few more methods later. Cut off your desires and pursue your thoughts, Mo Han said. With the cultivation method of an ascetic monk, you can abstain from food and dust. Combined with your own great willpower, you might be able to get rid of this terrifying appetite. Zhang Tianyi glanced at Chun Zhao and shook his head. That's impossible. What was an ascetic monk? It was someone who had an iron will and used suffering to sharpen his mind until he reached the other side. Not to mention Chun Zhao. Even Mo Han couldn't do it. For an ascetic monk, thinking was an original sin. A single thought was an unforgivable sin. Chun Zhao had to play the ascetic monk trick. That was no different from killing him. Then there's only one way, and that's to satisfy, Immerse said. The 9 desires are also known as the 9 poisons. There is no cure for the 9 poisons, but if you can satisfy the 9 poisons, then the poison will no longer be a poison, but a medicine for cultivation. This is somewhat similar to a Buddhist hymn. Zhang Tianyi stroked his white beard and nodded. Although Buddhism and Taoism were fighting in the spiritual world of China, Zhang Tianyi had long since surpassed the level of Buddhism and Taoism. If Buddhism and Taoism had a profound meaning, Zhang Tianyi wouldn't deny it. How do you satisfy it? Zhang Tianyi asked. The human heart is bottomless, and human desires are endless. Desire is difficult to satisfy. If it can be satisfied, then it's not called desire. Immerse looked at Chun Zhao. The only thing he can do now is to eat, to keep eating to temporarily curb his appetite. But anyone who is hit by the 9 poisons of the Viscera technique will either completely lose control or die from overeating. There has never been a third result. Chapter 2688. If I really lose control, you'll be the first person I eat alive. Chun Zhao stared coldly at Immerse. Immerse's heart skipped a beat. He didn't doubt Chun Zhao's determination. I don't have any ideas for now, but Dragon Tiger Mountain has many books and many spell breakers. We'll find a solution eventually, Zhang Tianyi said. I told you to stay at Dragon Tiger Mountain long ago. You wouldn't have run into these things. Chun Zhao glared at him. If you hadn't yelled for me to stop that day, I would have killed Zhang Ding and none of this would happen. We can go to Dragon Tiger Mountain now, right? No, Chun Zhao said seriously. Zhang Ding isn't dead yet. Chun Zhao was very stubborn about revenge. The spell on him could be undone, but he had to take revenge. If he didn't take revenge, he wouldn't be able to live. President Zhang, this is the contract for Big River Group. Please take a look. The secretary stood beside Zhang Ding and handed him a document. To be honest, even after working for Zhang Ding for 3 years, she still couldn't believe that he was already 80. Apart from his white hair, he didn't look like an 80-year-old man at all. He looked to be in his 30s at most. If he was really more than 80 years old, how powerful must his plastic surgery skills be to be able to reach this stage? But now the company was so large. It had a production line with a few thousand people and a market value of over $1 billion. Zhang Ding was also a famous figure in the city, so the secretary was also very respectful of him. The secretary had seen with her own eyes that Zhang Ding could scare a big boss into kneeling on the ground with just a glare. The secretary had never seen something like that before. This made her even more respectful of Zhang Ding. Zhang Ding scanned a few times, then nodded and signed his name. What's my schedule for the next few days? Tomorrow night, you have a dinner with President Zhang. The day after tomorrow, you have to attend Boss Chen's ribbon-cutting ceremony. The secretary explained the schedule in detail. Okay, it's getting late. You can leave now and come pick me up tomorrow. Just then, Zhang Ding's phone rang. Hello, it's Zhang Ding. Master, something happened. Someone broke into Mao Mountain and injured many people. Even the Yao Ceiling Tower was destroyed. What? Zhang Ding jumped up from his chair. What happened? That person said he's looking for you. It seems like he's your enemy. Before the disciple could finish, the phone was hung up. Hey, Mystic One? Zhang Ding listened to the busy tone and called back. But at that moment, it showed that the other party had turned off his phone. Zhang Ding's face was solemn. Xiao Qi, book me a ticket to Zhurong, Jiangsu. Oh, when was it? Now. The sooner the better. Okay, I'll go and make a reservation right now. Then tomorrow's dinner with President Zhang. I have to change my schedule for the next few days. I don't have time. Also, take me to the airport. Boss, don't you need to pack anything? No need. Do you need me to accompany you to Zhurong City? No need. I have a private matter to deal with. Yes, boss. Secretary Qi had worked for Zhang Ding for a few years and knew that his boss didn't know how to drive. Thus, most of the time, she acted as Zhang Ding's driver. The two walked out of the office and were about to take the elevator. 2 people came out of the elevator. Secretary Qi looked at the 2 unfamiliar faces in front of him. But when Zhang Ding saw them, his expression changed drastically. Who are you? Secretary Chi yelled. This is a private company, and it's already time to get off work. Chen Zhao glanced at Secretary Chi and then ignored her. Then Secretary Chi saw the person behind Chen Zhao take off his hood. Under the hood was a slightly frightening face with a few shocking bloodstains on it. When Zhang Ding saw Mo Han's face, his heart skipped a beat. Mo Han, you, Zhang Ding, this is all your fault. Secretary Chi didn't know what was going on. The two seemed to be his boss's old friends. Boss, Chen Zhao smiled. Miss, it's time to get off work. However, at this time, Secretary Chi raised his phone high. I've already called LL0. You better leave, or else you won't be able to escape when the police come. Xiao Qi, that's enough. Go back first, Zhang Ding said. Boss, don't be afraid of them. I've learned kickboxing for a few years. Bang. Just then, Chen Zhao slammed his fist into the wall beside the elevator. The wall was like tofu. Chen Zhao's fist punched a hole in it. Little girl, go back and take a nap. Then practice kickboxing. If you stay here, I'm afraid you won't even be able to take one punch. Secretary Chi's face paled. At the end of the day, she was still a girl. What she'd said before was just to bolster her courage. But now, Mo Han couldn't wait for Secretary Chi to leave. He couldn't wait to attack Zhang Ding. If the person he hated the most in the world wasn't Chen Zhao, it was Zhang Ding. Because of Zhang Ding, he'd fallen into Chen Zhao's hands. Because of Zhang Ding, his future was filled with despair. Chen Zhao pushed Secretary Chi into the elevator, blocking her view. At the same time, he pressed the button for the garage for her. But Mo Han and Zhang Ding didn't care anymore. Suddenly, Zhang Ding was smashed into the elevator. The metal plate of the elevator caved in. Zhang Ding roared and slammed his palm outwards, sending Mo Han flying. At the same time, his left hand made a grabbing motion and the elevator door closed. The elevator descended at high speed. Secretary Chi was scared out of her wits. She curled up in a corner. Zhang Ding had become a stranger in Secretary Chi's eyes. At this moment, Zhang Ding's entire being exuded an unapproachable pressure. In a few seconds, the elevator door opened again. Just now, the speed of the elevator's descent was several times faster than normal. Zhang Ding looked back at Secretary Chi. Leave. Those two won't make things difficult for you. Huh. Zhang Ding suddenly realized that Chen Zhao and Mo Han were already waiting for him downstairs. But why was Mo Han kneeling on the ground and vomiting? I didn't expect Zhang Daojun to be so gentlemanly. Chen Zhao put his hands in his pockets and looked at Zhang Ding. At the same time, he kicked Mo Han. Get up and get to work. Didn't you want to settle the score with Zhang Daojun? Mo Han, we've known each other for decades. Were you threatened by him? If we work together, he won't be able to take advantage of us. Zhang Ding saw that the situation was troublesome. Chen Zhao definitely couldn't beat him, so he could only turn to Mo Han. Chapter 2689. Even a blind man could tell that he was being coerced. But if he had a choice, why would he become Chen Zhao's lackey? It was because he had no choice. Mo Han looked up at Zhang Ding. The hatred in his eyes didn't diminish. Instead, it grew stronger. Join forces with you? Mo Han didn't have any hope of that happening. If working together could solve the problem, he wouldn't have become Chen Zhao's lackey. He was someone who could suppress Celestial Master Zhang. Mo Han didn't think that working with Zhang Ding would be able to change the outcome. Mo Han had seen Chen Zhao's power more than once. In a massacre at Debay Island, Chen Zhao had swallowed the giant serpent. The Maoshan sect had suffered great losses. Even the Yao Ceiling Tower had been destroyed. The famous Taoist Master Qing Ping had been forced to compromise. Even Zhang Tianyi couldn't stop Chen Zhao. Just him and Zhang Ding? Stop joking around. Chen Zhao was the scariest demon. Chen Zhao had only used 1 second to carry him from the 30th floor to the garage, not to mention anything else. And then Mo Han vomited. Even a top-level cultivator would find it hard to withstand the pressure of that high speed. In that 1 second, Mo Han could see the twists and turns of life in front of him. Zhang Ding looked at the hostile Mo Han and then at Chen Zhao. If you dare touch me, Celestial Master Zhang and the Maoshan sect won't let you go. Chun Zhao smiled. It was Zhang Tianyi who gave me your information. As for the Maoshan sect, they probably don't have the courage to protect you now. I was actually hoping that they would tell me to step over their dead bodies if I wanted to touch you. But they didn't. Emohan looked at Zhang Ding coldly. Why do you think we're here? Almost everyone who dared to save you is dead. Zhang Ding's eyelids twitched. Was it Chun Zhao who attacked the Maoshan intersect? The Maoshan intersect had been attacked a few times in the past. However, the Maoshan intersect had never suffered a loss. Even the best result was a 50-50 chance. That was the Maoshan intersect, a holy land of Taoism. Even the Celestial Master sect of Dragon Tiger Mountain, which was also a holy land of Taoism. As long as the Maoshan intersect was in their territory, they would have a 50-50 chance of winning. It was more likely that the people of Longhu Mountain's Celestial Master sect had all been buried in the Mao Mountain intersect. But now, the Mao Mountain intersect had been breached by a single person. This was a little scary. In fact, even Zhang Ding, who stood at the pinnacle of the Huaxia supernatural world, was not one of them. They also found it hard to understand Chun Zhao's level. If it were Zhang Tianyi, even if he led all the disciples of the Celestial Master sect of Longhu Mountain, he might not be able to gain the upper hand in the Mao Mountain intersect. It was not that the Celestial Master sect of Mount Longhu was not strong, nor was it that Zhang Tianyi was not strong. That was because the disciples of the Mao Mountain intersect were no weaker than those of the Dragon Tiger Mountain Celestial Master sect. Therefore, the advantage of numbers was gone. Furthermore, the Maoshan intersect had the geographical advantage. There were dozens of protective formations and traps in the Maoshan intersect. Basically, it would not be a problem to trap and kill thousands of people. Even if Zhang Tianyi was an immortal, he would still be dragged down by a battle of this scale, because the ones he brought were all burdens, not combat power. However, if he went alone, the result would be different, because he had no burdens and no worries. Just like when Chun Zhao went to the Mao Mountain sect earlier. Once people like them went all out. In that case, the destructive power and lethality it could cause was unimaginable. Emohan attacked Zhang Ding again. Although Zhang Ding was worried about the current situation, but he was not weaker than Emohan. In fact, he was even stronger. But Chun Zhao was right in front of him. Zhang Ding had seen Chun Zhao's strength, and that opportunity had come at the cost of being pinned to the ground. Therefore, even if he had 10% of his strength, he could only use 60% of it. He did not dare to expose too much of his strength. He had to pay attention to Chun Zhao's every move. But Chun Zhao still did not move. The more Chun Zhao did not move, the more Zhang Ding paid attention to him. Chun Zhao enjoyed the battle between the two. He did not know if it was because of the terrain. Zhang Ding did not use his zombie summoning skill. On the other hand, Emohan used the dirty method he was most proficient in, but he did not use the 9 visceral methods. The 9 visceral methods took a long time to charge up, and the hit rate was not high. It could be said that when the 9 visceral methods hit Chun Zhao, it had used up all of Emohan's luck. But with Chun Zhao in the back, Zhang Ding's moves were all big and powerful. He looked like he wanted to die with Zhang Ding. Zhang Ding, on the other hand, was much more restrained. He only dared to use 70% of his strength. For a while, the two were fighting back and forth. There was no clear winner. Emohan gave Zhang Ding a lot of pressure, but Chun Zhao, who had not made a move, was even more pressured. Secretary Qi trembled as he watched the scene in front of him. It was clearly not a street fight. Suddenly, a beam of black light shot over. At this moment, a hand appeared in front of Secretary Qi. "Little girl, you haven't left yet?" Secretary Qi gathered his courage and looked at Chun Zhao. "I'm not afraid of you. Justice will prevail over evil." Chun Zhao rubbed his chin. Did he look like a villain? He had even tidied up his appearance when he came. "You're not the female lead. He's not a good person." "Of course, I'm not either. So, you don't have to righteously criticize me here, and you don't have to defend justice. If you have to define our current behavior, it should be called dog biting dog." Chun Zhao put one hand on Secretary Qi's shoulder. "So, you should go home now, take a shower, and have a good sleep. Forget everything that happened tonight. Trust me, it's good for all of us." Secretary Qi nodded. Just then, Imohan was sent flying by Zhang Ding's palm. Zhang Ding did not pursue. Instead, he turned and ran. His feet moved, and his figure flashed dozens of feet away. Spatial bending? Chun Zhao was surprised. Chun Zhao had never seen spatial bending before, but this spell was easy to distinguish. Every time Zhang Ding jumped, it seemed like he only took one step, but he could travel a long distance. But how could Chun Zhao allow Zhang Ding to escape? Chun Zhao punched at Zhang Ding from a distance. Chun Zhao did not use too much strength, but the punch still landed heavily on Zhang Ding's back, sending him flying forward. In the end, he crashed into a pillar. A corner of the pillar fell off. After all, Zhang Ding wasn't an enhancer. Although his physique was stronger than a normal person's, he wasn't one of them. Although his body was stronger than normal people, he still felt like his entire body had been crushed by the punch. Chun Zhao walked forward step by step and looked at Imohan. If you're not dead, get up. Chapter 2690. Imohan felt pain all over his body, but he still stood up. If he didn't, Chun Zhao would give him even more pain. Chun Zhao made a grabbing motion, and Zhang Ding was pulled toward him. Even as he was being pulled, Zhang Ding was still able to quickly form hand seals and cast spells. A golden coffin fell from the sky, covering Zhang Ding. But that didn't stop Chun Zhao from pulling. Zhang Ding and the golden coffin were pulled toward Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao punched through Huang Jin's coffin, but Chun Zhao didn't feel like he'd grabbed anything. Huang Jin's coffin was empty. There was nothing inside. Just then, a large amount of black gas spewed out of Huang Jin's coffin. It seemed to have a mind of its own, avoiding Chun Zhao. The black gas gathered into Zhang Ding not far away. But Zhang Ding seemed to be a little strange. His face was black, and his body exuded the aura of a zombie. A pair of sharp canines could be seen at the side of his mouth. Imohan's expression changed when he saw Zhang Ding's state. His face was black, and his fangs were many times larger. His hands and feet were covered in fur. His body was bestial, his eyes crimson, his claws as sharp as blades. His skin was cracked, and red lotus fire flowed through the cracks. A terrifying wave of heat radiated from Zhang Ding's body. The tires of the cars parked around them were the first to melt and burst. Some of the light metals also began to melt. Imohan hesitated, wondering if he should warn Chun Zhao about Zhang Ding's current state. If Zhang Ding could win, it wouldn't be a bad thing for him. But on second thought, could Zhang Ding beat Chun Zhao? What a joke. Even though Zhang Ding was terrifying right now. Zhang Ding was terrifying, but the difference between him and Chun Zhao was more than a Pacific Ocean. It was almost impossible to defeat Chun Zhao in this legendary zombie form, unless he could summon the true form of the legendary zombie. Careful, Imohan warned. He's borrowed Hitorigami's power. Roar. Zhang Ding roared, a terrifying wave of fire erupting from his body. Chun Zhao stood still. The wave of fire dissipated when it reached 10 feet in front of him. Chun Zhao still raised his arm and grabbed at the air. But this time, Zhang Ding wasn't pulled over so easily. Zhang Ding stood still. To resist Chun Zhao's suction, he had to grab the ground with his claws. Actually, Chun Zhao wasn't able to create attraction. It was because of the power of the small world. The entire small world was 10 times more powerful than Chun Zhao himself, although this power referred to the power of the entire small world. It wasn't like a finger that could exert all its power at a certain point or a certain position. For example, where Zhang Ding was right now, Chun Zhao couldn't use the power of the entire small world on him. However, even if it wasn't his full strength, the force Zhang Ding withstood was still shocking. Even though he possessed the power of the drought demon, he still needed to use all his strength to resist this power. If you're not coming, then I'll go. Chun Zhao walked toward Zhang Ding. Zhang Ding's hair stood on end. Chun Zhao's approach made him feel an even more terrifying force. With the power of the drought demon, Zhang Ding's perception of danger was much stronger than normal. Chun Zhao, on the other hand, gave him the feeling that he was a huge ball of danger. A danger of realization. When Chun Zhao was 3 meters away from Zhang Ding's eyes widened. Zhang Ding had no choice but to raise his claws and attack Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao also raised his hands and grabbed Zhang Ding's claws. When their palms met, Chen Zhao realized that the corpse poison on Zhang Ding's claws was invading his palms. Chen Zhao laughed. His gluttony bloodline was least afraid of poison. No matter what kind of poison it was useless against Chen Zhao. Gluttons couldn't be poisoned. Chen Zhao twisted and Zhang Ding's arm was broken. Mo Han and Secretary Qi both heard the sound of bones breaking. The sound was crisp and clear. In pain, Zhang Ding opened his mouth and bit at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao didn't block Zhang Ding's fangs, because Chen Zhao was also biting Zhang Ding's shoulder. Zhang Ding's fangs didn't penetrate the skin on Chen Zhao's neck. Instead, a piece of flesh was bitten off his shoulder. Tui. As expected, it's hard to swallow. At this moment, whether it was Mo Han or Secretary Shao Qi, both of them were frightened by Chen Zhao's amazing action. They could accept Zhang Ding's bite. That was because Zhang Ding wasn't in human form. He was in human form, but their impression of Zhang Ding was that of a beast. But Chen Zhao was different. He was human, but Chen Zhao was even more savage than Zhang Ding. Mo Han's scalp went numb. Had he already started to develop in this direction? It seemed like he wouldn't need long to completely lose control. Cannibalism. That was the bottom line in everyone's heart. Living creatures instinctively knew what was edible and what wasn't. However, when his appetite overcame his instincts, that was when one would lose control. Zhang Ding's shoulder wound oozed out a visible scarlet aura. But Chen Zhao felt that the red aura was quite delicious. Chen Zhao opened his mouth and sucked it in. It was rare for Chen Zhao to feel a trace of satisfaction. Delicious? This thing seemed delicious, at least better than Zhang Ding's flesh. But Zhang Ding's shoulder wound healed quickly. Zhang Ding kicked at Chen Zhao with all his might. His arms shook again. He'd actually broken off his arms and used Chen Zhao's body as leverage to escape Chen Zhao's hands. But large amounts of scarlet aura oozed out of his broken arms again. Chen Zhao greedily devoured it. Chen Zhao licked his lips. Zhang Ding had been on the verge of losing his mind due to the drought demon's power. But now he'd woken up. Chen Zhao's eyes burned like torches. His body also ignited with red flames. But it was different from Zhang Ding's demonic flames. Chen Zhao's flames were full of life. Chen Zhao was surprised that his nirvana flame had ignited on its own. Usually, it would only be activated when one activated it, or when one was on the verge of death. He hadn't activated it on his own, nor was he on the verge of death. Why did it suddenly activate? Nirvana flame had a certain amount of attacking power, but it wasn't very powerful. So Chen Zhao didn't activate it on his own. But soon, Chen Zhao realized that because he'd absorbed the scarlet aura, the nirvana flame was automatically refining it. Chen Zhao looked at Zhang Ding, his eyes filled with greed and desire. Zhang Ding's heart skipped a beat. The madness in his heart subsided, replaced by a bone-chilling fear. You can't kill me. Celestial Master Zhang still needs me to help subdue the Qinling demons. If you kill me, the Qinling demons will appear. It'll be a disaster. Chapter 2691. Chen Zhao laughed. When did I say I was going to kill you? Chen Zhao's smile made Zhang Ding feel uneasy. With that, Chen Zhao slapped through the air again. Zhang Ding's chest caved in, and he spat out a mouthful of blood that contained a thick red aura. Chen Zhao inhaled deeply and absorbed the red aura into his body. The scarlet aura seemed to be more satisfying than ordinary food. Zhang Ding was no longer in the mood to fight, but he couldn't outrun Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao said that he didn't plan to kill him, but each move was more vicious than the last. And with every hit, Zhang Ding's aura weakened. Chen Zhao hit him a few dozen times. Zhang Ding's red aura had become extremely weak. His form gradually changed from the form of a hitorigami to that of a human. He had almost recovered his original appearance. Mo Han, come over and give him a dirty technique. Chen Zhao held Zhang Ding's dying body with one hand. Mo Han secretly sighed. Of course, he wanted Zhang Ding to win. But the result was not unexpected. Chun Zhao was still the same Chun Zhao, the terrifying Chun Zhao. Even with the power of the drought demon, it could not stop Chun Zhao at all. Emohan no longer hesitated. 9 Viscera techniques. Emohan's magic power turned into a ferocious beast and directly drilled into Zhang Ding's body. Chun Zhao tossed Zhang Ding aside and left without looking back. Mr. Chun, Emohan, who was next to Chun Zhao, wanted to say something several times, but stopped. Speak. Mr. Chun, you've entered the final stage. What do you suggest? Chun Zhao asked. I want to know why Mr. Chun can still maintain his rationality. Emohan asked. He didn't know how many times he had used this dirty technique. No one had ever been able to maintain their rationality in the final stages after being hit. Chun Zhao thought for a moment. Perhaps it was because of his gluttonous bloodline. He really wanted to eat, but the desire wasn't enough to make him lose his mind. As for eating humans, it didn't seem to have reached that stage yet. There's a sect near Shanghai called Jingxin Sect. Jingxin Sect? It's owned by the Japanese? No, he's a countryman. Emohan was also cursing in his heart. In fact, when the vast majority of people heard of this name, their first reaction would be to think that it was a Japanese sect. What does Jingxin Sect do? They have a rare treasure called the Tranquil Jade. You mean you want me to snatch the Tranquil Jade? No. That Jingxin Sect has a lot of connections with both the black and white sections. It's not wise to provoke them. I'm not even afraid of the Maoshan Sect, so why would I be afraid of Jingxin Sect? The Maoshan Sect is the Maoshan Sect, and the Jingxin Sect is the Jingxin Sect. The Maoshan Sect is indeed a monstrous force in the spiritual world, but they may not have much of a foundation in the government. However, the Jingxin Sect is different. They have the government backing them, so it's best not to act rashly unless it's absolutely necessary. Then why did you mention Jingxin Sect? Jingxin Sect is different from most sections. They are open for business. Emohan replied, because there are often cultivators who, due to various reasons, lose control of their emotions, or even directly go berserk. They specialize in doing business with such people. They allow their guests to use the Tranquil Heart Jade to calm themselves, and charge a certain fee every day. How much is it? Chun Zhao asked. It's not money, but all kinds of rare treasures in the spiritual world. They will also evaluate the quality of the treasures and how long they let you cultivate in front of the Tranquil Heart Jade. Chun Zhao glanced at Emohan. What rare treasures do you have? Take them out. Emohan wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Where'd I get rare treasures? He did have some money, but the last time he went abroad, all his money was on the plane. In the end, he was dragged out of the plane. Then Chun Zhao stripped him naked and threw him into the snowy mountains. Forget it. Chun Zhao looked at Emohan's appearance and knew that he had already destroyed most of Emohan's wealth. I need to send something back to China. Is there any way to send it back faster? Chun Zhao asked. Is it something from the spiritual world? Yes. If it's the Pei Jingxin Sect, you don't have to send it back. Jingxin Sect also accepts foreign customers. You can contact them directly and have their foreign payee inspect the goods. This was because there were many objects in the spirit world that could cause great effects. So, under normal circumstances, it was more troublesome for items from the spiritual world to leave the country. Therefore, Jingxin Sect made some changes in the down payment. The payee who worked overseas would personally collect the money and inspect the goods. Take me to Jingxin Sect now. Emohan brought Chun Zhao to Jingxin Sect. The place looked like a manor in a remote village. Jingxin Sect's architectural style leaned towards the ancient Chinese style. There was a pair of stone lions at the entrance. The door was made of vermilion wood and had many rivets. A pair of copper knobs hung in the middle. In this quiet alley, a few drops of early spring rain fell, bringing with it a bit of desolation, but not cold and cheerless. There were people talking and some lights on the walls. Of course, although it was quite antique, it was still modern when it should be. For example, there were cameras hidden under the eaves. Also, the lanterns hanging under the door were actually the newest type of light. Emohan went up and knocked on the door knocker. A while later, the door opened. A woman walked out. She was dressed in traditional Chinese clothing. Her outfit reminded Chun Zhao of cosplayers. "Sirs, what can I do for you?" the woman asked. "I need to rent a calming jade," Chun Zhao said. "Please come in." The woman had a sweet smile that was pleasing to the eye. The style of the manor was a combination of Chinese and Western. The main part was Chinese. There are mountain rocks, wind forests, small bridges, green jade in the courtyard, and plum orchid gardens. However, the wide floor-to-ceiling windows and the modern decorations inside made this place full of unique style. "Would you like to stay together, or do you need separate rooms?" the woman asked. "Two individual rooms." Chun Zhao admired the scenery along the way. The place was more like a collection of small mansions, surrounded by a huge wall. "Are all people here to rent calming jade?" Chun Zhao asked. "No, most of them are tourists. Other than providing calming jade services, we're also a holiday village. Most of the customers here are regular tourists. It's just Chinese New Year, and there are already so many tourists. Sir, please don't use your senses here. Cultivators and regular people don't like being peeked at." "Okay, sorry." Chun Zhao also realized that most of the guests were indeed regular people. Most of them had brought their families. "We have many rules here. The most important one is that you can't use spells in front of regular people." 9 Heavens Divine Emperor. Chapter 2692. Actually, this wasn't a rule. It was common sense, even though everyone didn't follow it seriously. Chun Zhao finished the check-in procedure. It would be a week in total. During this time, he could borrow the meditation jade at any time. When Chun Zhao heard its name, he thought it was just a jade pendant, palm-sized at most. But he was wrong. When Chun Zhao was brought before the meditation jade, he realized that it wasn't a meditation jade at all. It was a huge jade disc. The jade disc before him was embedded into the mountain wall. Its surface was smooth. When Chun Zhao approached the meditation jade, he realized that his little world had disappeared. The small world had disappeared. One possibility was that Chun Zhao had become one with himself, and the power of the small world was added to his body. He'd used this move when he'd fought Zhang Tianyi. Another possibility was that he'd been enveloped by an even more powerful small world. This was undoubtedly the latter. The jade disc before him emitted a faintly discernible small world. The small world seemed illusory, but it was more oppressive than Chun Zhao's. Other people didn't have a small world, so they couldn't feel anything. At most, they'd feel a bit strange. But Chun Zhao was different because the small world released by the jade disc was suppressing him. Chun Zhao furrowed his brows. This suppression couldn't harm him. For example, he couldn't use the small world to harm enemies of the same level. The jade disc's small world couldn't harm him either, but the pressure couldn't be removed. Chun Zhao wanted to form a new small world to fight against the jade disc. But before the jade disc, it was like he'd lost contact with it. Chun Zhao glanced at the woman in the traditional Chinese attire beside him. "Are you selling this?" The woman in the Han dress smiled. Her smile was so natural and fresh. It seemed that Chun Zhao wasn't the first person to make this request. "Someone once wanted to trade for this jade disc with gold of the same weight," the woman said, smiling. Chun Zhao glanced at her. They didn't agree. If they did, the meditation jade wouldn't be here, the woman said disapprovingly. The woman said disapprovingly, "During this week, you can come here to meditate and cultivate your mind at any time." Chun Zhao saw that there were many cushions before the jade disc. Most of them were empty. Only a few were occupied. They seemed to be here to seek peace of mind, just like Chun Zhao. "You can do anything here as long as you don't affect others." The woman in the Han dress said, "You can't touch the meditation jade either." Chun Zhao nodded. It wasn't his home, after all, so it was natural for there to be rules. However, the price here was not cheap. It was 100,000 yuan a day. This was almost the speed of robbing a bank. Chun Zhao found an empty seat and sat down. Chun Zhao was curious as to why this piece of calming jade would have a small world. Wasn't the small heaven and earth a power exclusive to living beings? If it belonged to Chun Zhao, he would definitely break it open to see what was inside. Unfortunately, Chun Zhao wasn't its master. Even though he was itching to do so, he could only watch helplessly. Don't say that you can snatch it with your fist. There were countless people in the world with fists as big as the sea. However, the rules of this world were still intact, because those with big fists also knew how to abide by the rules. In other words, they were a part of the rules. When Chun Zhao started meditating, he immediately felt the small world invading his body and resonating with his spiritual power. Chun Zhao frowned. He didn't like people invading his spiritual power. It was like a stranger opening someone else's computer and browsing. Chun Zhao felt like his privacy had been invaded. Even if it was just a rock, Chun Zhao would not allow it. Chun Zhao immediately retracted his spiritual power and cut off the connection with the meditation jade. The moment the connection was cut, Chun Zhao was enlightened. There seemed to be a ball of foreign spiritual power left in Chun Zhao's spiritual power. Chun Zhao was not good at spiritual power. He only knew a rather advanced hypnosis spell, Banshee's Charm. However, he still knew the basics of refining spiritual power. Chun Zhao began to refine the ball of spiritual power. Everyone had their own spiritual mark. More accurately, it should be a mark of consciousness. However, this ball of spiritual power did not have any mark. This meant that the original owner of this ball of spiritual power had no consciousness. Therefore, it was not difficult for a layman like Chun Zhao to refine this ball of spiritual power. However, this ball of spiritual power was also useless to Chun Zhao. It was tasteless to eat, but a pity to discard. Even though Chun Zhao was a layman in spiritual magic, with Chun Zhao's cultivation, his spiritual power was hundreds of times stronger than a regular cultivator's. Plus, Chun Zhao had devoured many dark creatures and soul fragments. Therefore, Chun Zhao's spiritual power had already reached an unimaginable level. Therefore, this ball of spiritual power was just a drop in the ocean to Chun Zhao. If it wasn't an external spiritual power, it would leave a flaw in his own spiritual power. Chun Zhao was not even willing to spend the effort to digest this ball of spiritual power. Chun Zhao looked at the jade disc before him. If this ball of spiritual power was produced by this jade disc, then it was undoubtedly a natural spiritual item. In that case, there was no doubt that this piece of jade was a natural spiritual object, and from the looks of it, it was about to develop spiritual intelligence. In this era, something like this was definitely a priceless treasure. Of course, Chun Zhao had also considered robbing it. However, robbing it would be too degrading. This was a good thing, but it did not mean that Chun Zhao would lose his integrity. Even if he could hide it from the owner of this place, he could not hide it from the old celestial master. Moreover, although this thing was good, it might not be of much use to Chun Zhao. Chun Zhao purely wanted it. He did not have to have it. It was just because it was good. That was why Chun Zhao had asked in a probing manner. After more than 20 minutes, Chun Zhao refined the ball of spiritual power. His spiritual power also increased a little. Chun Zhao roughly understood the use of this jade disc and the principle behind it. This was because the spiritual power of the jade disc did not have any sentience. Therefore, when it connected with other people's spiritual power, it would empty the other cultivator's mind. The so-called inner demons were the cultivator's own wild thoughts. That was why they had the chance to invade the cultivator's consciousness. Once the cultivator emptied his mind, the inner demons would not be able to get to him. Moreover, other cultivators could probably refine spiritual power too. Therefore, if they cultivated here for a long time, they could effectively improve their mental strength. Of course, the prerequisite was that one's wallet was big enough. After all, the fees here were not low. Regular cultivators could not stay here for long. Just then, the ball of spiritual power started to touch Chun Zhao's again. Chun Zhao did not reject it. He let the ball of spiritual power enter his own and then swallowed it. After all, it was consensual. Chun Zhao suspected that the reason the jade disc's spiritual power kept coming into contact with the cultivator's mind was to prepare for it to develop sentience. Chapter 2693. Chun Zhao stayed for less than an hour before the calming jade. Then he planned to leave. This place could indeed calm his mind. However, the price was letting a stone peek into his inner world. It would be fine if he didn't know, but since he did, Chun Zhao didn't want to continue like this. Moreover, it wasn't a regular stone. It was a stone that was about to turn into a spirit. Didn't they say that it wouldn't turn into a spirit after the country was established? Of course, this was only Chun Zhao's prediction. Who knew when this calming jade would develop intelligence? Maybe it would complete the transformation soon. But for humans, it would still be a long process. Ouch! Just then, a boy bumped into Chun Zhao's leg and fell on his butt. Chun Zhao froze. Because he wasn't far from the calming jade, his senses were still greatly affected. He didn't notice the boy's actions at all. The boy's parents hurried over. Xiaoyi, are you okay? I'm fine, Mom. Hurry and apologize to Uncle. Sorry, Uncle. The boy called Xiaoyi looked at Chun Zhao obediently. I'm sorry, Chun Zhao said, smiling. I was distracted and didn't notice you. The couple seemed to have taught their children well. It was hard to say who was right and who was wrong in the accident. However, they were brave enough to admit their mistakes. It was enough to show their values. The child's father dragged his suitcase. He wore glasses and looked thoughtful. The child mother was quite pretty. Her makeup was mainly light and elegant. Her tone and attitude were both easygoing. Hello. Xiaoyi ran too fast just now. The mother said gently. It's okay. Kids are always noisy. If they won't be kids anymore. Are you here to travel too? Oh, right. Are you alone, sir? No. I'm here to play with my friends during Chinese New Year. The two chatted as they walked. What a coincidence. Do you live here? I'm next door. Chun Zhao's suite was next door to this family suite. Yes, what a coincidence, but it's really not cheap here, the father complained. 2,300 a day. Chun Zhao grinned. Only 2,300 yuan? He earned 100,000 a day. You have a nerve to tell me it's expensive? I've been busy all year, Chun Zhao said, chuckling. It's rare for me to come out and play. Don't think it's too expensive. That's true. This is one of the best resorts in the country. It's expensive, but there are benefits to it. With the facilities here, it's not a loss. The father seemed to be consoling himself. Even so, he still felt pain in his heart. After all, his family wasn't very rich. Staying here for 3 days would cost a few thousand yuan. Anyone would feel uncomfortable for a while. After chatting at the door for a while, Chun Zhao and the father returned to their respective rooms. Linlin, do you think we'll really be fine if we hide here with little Yi? I think so. The fortune teller said that Xiaoya's calamity can be resolved here. The child mother was also a little worried. After all, they were facing an inhuman being. This time, they said that they were bringing little Yi here for a vacation. But in reality, they were here to seek refuge. At the same time, outside the resort, 2 humanoid creatures with inhuman faces were loitering outside the resort. Before they could enter, a figure appeared in front of the 2 inhuman creatures. Who are you people? What are you doing here? Friend, one of the inhuman creatures said. We're chasing a thief who stole something from us. He's escaped inside now. However, the cultivator clearly did not believe the words of the 2 demons. This is Jingxin Villa. No one is allowed to cause trouble here, especially 2 demons who haven't transformed yet. Friend, we're from Kunlai Mountain. We're here on the orders of Ancestor Kunlai. Please do us a favor. No, the cultivator said coldly. Don't wander around here if you don't have anything to do. Be careful not to be eaten. Friend, are you not going to give Ancestor Kunlai face? This is Jingxin Villa, not Kunlai Mountain, the cultivator snorted. The 2 demons didn't force their way in. After all, it was just the 2 of them. If they went to Jingxin Villa alone, it would be no different from suicide. So, the 2 decisively chose to retreat. After confirming that the 2 demons had left, the cultivator's expression changed. He hurried back into Jingxin Villa. Jingxin Villa's influence was great, but whether or not it could intimidate Old Monster Kunlai was another matter. Old Monster Kunlai was a tyrant in the southwest region. It was said that he was one of the few great demons with 1,000 years of cultivation. Even the government turned a blind eye to Old Monster Kunlai occupying the mountains and acting as the king. Anyone, as long as their strength reached a certain level and didn't go against those in power, would basically be recruited or set up their own faction. Old Monster Kunlai was one of them. In China's supernatural world, there was a saying, West Mountain Stupid Town Kunlai, East Mountain Ghost Gate saves life. This West Mountain Stupa was naturally referring to Old Monster Kunlai, and East Mountain Ghost Gate saves life was referring to Mount Tai Ghost King. Of course, there was still a difference between the two. For example, Old Monster Kunlai was an unorthodox person. The government didn't care about you. He was also secretly free and unfettered. And Mount Tai Ghost King was a true nobleman. He was one of the higher-ups of the government. He could even be said to be one of the people in power, the fiefdom given by the government, and many of them were open and above-board industries. Although he wasn't human, his power was thicker than most people's. Something happened. Luo Bin hurried into the meeting hall. Originally, there were two cultivators dressed in traditional Han clothing. They were drinking tea with their legs crossed and chatting leisurely. Suddenly, they were shocked by Luo Bin's shout. What happened? Just now, two demons from Kunlai Mountain came outside. They said they were under the orders of Old Demon Kunlai to find a person who stole something from them. However, I chased them away. However, I'm worried that Old Demon Kunlai will send more people to cause trouble. Will Old Monster Kunlai come personally? If he does, we won't be able to stop him with just the few of us here. Old Monster Kunlai. That's a great demon. No, I have to inform the boss. Go and investigate who that Old Monster Kunlai is looking for. Also, those two monsters said that Old Monster Kunlai lost something. Find out what exactly it is. Luo Bin dialed the boss's number. Boss, something happened. Luo Bin quickly told the boss on the other side of the phone. After a moment of silence, the person on the other end of the phone said, Has the person in room 058 checked in? Chapter 2694. He's checked in. Boss, what about Kunlai? Everyone didn't understand why the usually tough boss would choose to acquiesce. Couldn't even the boss deal with Kunlai? As long as he doesn't kill anyone in Jingxin Villa, you don't have to care about anything else. But this will break our rules. The rules can't be broken. The person in room 058 will naturally kick me out and deal with Kunlai. Boss, are you sure you're not mistaken? The two guests in room 058 seem ordinary. One's cultivation is about the same as mine. I can't tell how strong the other is, but his chi is dense and his gaze is sharp. He looks like a body cultivator. Yes, remember, don't interfere in this matter. Just treat that person as an ordinary guest. Hearing this, everyone could only give up. However, they didn't understand who the guest in room 058 was. Why did he say that he could solve the problem? At the moment, Chun Zhao, who was in room 058, was sitting on the stairs connecting to the courtyard and gazing at the starry sky. However, he was still thinking about the meditation jade. It wasn't that he was still eyeing the meditation jade. It was just that the meditation jade could have a little world stronger than him. Chun Zhao had always remembered this. It didn't mean that the meditation jade was stronger than him. To be honest, the meditation jade didn't even have intelligence yet. Even if it did and became a big demon, Chun Zhao would still kill it if he needed to. What Chun Zhao cared about was the meditation jade's little world. It was a spiritual item born from nature and had never cultivated before. However, it had an extremely powerful little world. It could be said that Chun Zhao, Zhang Tianyi, Bifla, and the 23rd Blood Mary, their little worlds added together weren't as dense as the meditation jade. How strong was the meditation jade's little world? It enveloped the entire Jingxin Villa, making it hard for everyone's senses to spread out. Heaven was the father and earth was the mother, so the little world was naturally formed from nature. Nature had endless power and was boundless. However, how small was the chance to form a little world? Chun Zhao never bought lottery tickets because he felt that someone was behind the lottery. Any small chance was equivalent to zero. So, this meditation jade might have been born from nature, but it was definitely not a product of nature. This seemingly contradictory conclusion was actually the most consistent with the theory of cause and effect. The tranquil precious jade, which was created by man's interference with heaven and earth, allowed it to have its own little world. Perhaps the imminent awakening of the jade of tranquility and the development of spiritual wisdom was also the result of someone's actions. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes and started thinking again. It seemed that only Zhang Tianyi had the ability, strength, and resources to do this kind of thing. Chen Zhao's eyes lit up, and he turned to look at Mo Han, who was sleeping on the sofa in the living room. Mo Han shuddered and suddenly woke up from his sleep. As an outstanding assassin, it was normal for him to sense danger and wake up from his sleep. Mo Han had already discovered that the person who was looking at him with a cold gaze was precisely the person he feared the most, Chen Zhao. "Mr. Chen, is there anything I can help you with? Tell me, did you secretly reach out to old Zhang without my knowledge, and the two of you made a certain clandestine deal?" Chen Zhao had every reason to believe that even under his full surveillance, Mo Han could still secretly get in touch with some people. Moreover, it was Mo Han who had guided him to the Jingxin Manor. So, if the boss behind the Jingxin Manor was Zhang Tianyi, then Mo Han, who had led him here, was the biggest suspect. Mo Han was dumbfounded. What was going on? This was completely groundless. Don't joke around. My people are already in your hands. Is it worth it to hook up with others? If Zhang Tianyi could really save my life. Mo Han really didn't mind being Zhang Tianyi's lackey. The point was Zhang Tianyi also couldn't do anything to Chen Zhao. Would Chen Zhao listen to Zhang Tianyi and let him go? This was Mo Han's psychological activity. I'm innocent. Chen Zhao had been observing Mo Han. He couldn't tell whether an outstanding assassin was really doing something shameful through his facial expression, but he still maintained a suspicious attitude towards Mo Han. "How much do you know about this Jingxin Manor?" "I only know that there is such a place. I really don't know how many there are." Mo Han secretly observed Chen Zhao's facial expression. He also didn't know what Chen Zhao was thinking and what he meant. But this feeling was very dangerous. It doesn't matter if you think nonsense, but if you recklessly speculate about my professionalism, I will be the one who will lose my life. Suddenly, Chen Zhao found that there was a pair of eyes staring at their room through the floor-to-ceiling window. Although Chen Zhao's little world was suppressed, the shadow, I was still working. This kind of spying couldn't avoid Chen Zhao at all. Chen Zhao flicked his right hand. Pop! A small black ball the size of a grain of rice shot out. It directly penetrated the wall and, at the same time, sent the person hiding behind the wall flying. "Go and bring that person in," Chen Zhao said indifferently. Mo Han was overjoyed. He almost knelt down to thank the person who spied on him. If that person didn't interrupt Chen Zhao's thoughts, if his thoughts had been drilled into a dead end, at that time, he wouldn't even be able to withstand a slap. Mo Han went to the door and looked at the person on the ground. The person was wearing the uniform of the manor's staff. He wasn't dead, but his injuries were not light. Mo Han didn't care so much at this time. He picked up the person and walked in. "Mr. Chen, he's not dead, but he seems to have fainted. Do you want me to wake him up?" "Of course." Chen Zhao glared at Mo Han. Mo Han immediately did as he was told and pressed twice on the person's body. The person jumped up with a scream. But the next moment, Mo Han pressed him back to the ground. "Be honest. Say what you should and don't say what you shouldn't. We're not idiots." To be honest, Mo Han was actually trying to save him. It wouldn't be good if he said something he shouldn't and caused Chen Zhao to bleed like a river. "Who told you to spy on me?" Chen Zhao asked. "Sir, I don't know what you're talking about. I just wanted to come in and ask if you need any service. You attacked me for no reason. This isn't over." Chen Zhao chuckled. "I also think this isn't over." Just then, a few people came in from outside. One of them was the woman in the traditional Chinese dress who had led the way for Chen Zhao. When the woman saw her companion being pressed to the ground by Mo Han, her expression darkened. "Sir, you better explain what's going on." Chapter 2695. I need to explain too. Why don't you guys go first? Chen Zhao had a fake smile on his face. It was an expression that made people want to punch him. "Do it." They didn't waste any more time with Chen Zhao. The woman raised her hand and tossed. A beam of golden light shot toward Chun Zhao. When Chun Zhao saw it clearly, he realized that it was another alchemy rope. Chun Zhao was furious. Fuck, it was just a guess, but now it was confirmed. Although the one tied to him was a replica, Chun Zhao still hated it to the core. Chun Zhao snapped the alchemy rope on him. The woman and the others had planned to use a few more combo moves. But when they looked up, their trump card had been broken. Didn't you say that no one in the world could break it? Boss, you're lying. In the past, they've been almost invincible with this rope. No matter how fierce or evil a cultivator was, they were like a dog with a rope tied to it. But today, they couldn't help but doubt this unparalleled alchemy rope. Grabbing the broken alchemy rope, he raised his hand and whipped it. With a painful cry, a man in chef clothes was sent flying and slammed into the wall. How dare you? How dare you cause trouble in Jingxin Villa? Do you know who opened Jingxin Villa? Who? Tell me. You're scaring me. Humph. Don't be so glib. I'll tell you now. Our boss is the top person in the world. He's Celestial Master Zhang. If you dare to cause trouble here today, even if you kill us, you won't escape our boss's eyes. Haha, eyes of heavenly magic. Chun Zhao's laughter was cold. Then he called Zhang Tianyi. Old Zhang, what are you doing? Sleeping. Don't you know what time it is? Zhang Tianyi's tone was filled with annoyance. Oh, go back to sleep. I met a few people who use your name to cheat here. I'll break their arms and legs and send them to you for you to deal with. Wait, you're... Zhang Tianyi panicked. He realized that Chun Zhao was in Jingxin Villa and that the kids definitely didn't listen to his instructions. She must have done something for Chun Zhao to notice. Jingxin Villa. Fuck. Zhang Tianyi cursed. Kid, if you dare hurt my people, I'll cross the Pacific Ocean tonight and flatten your supernatural organization. Motherfucker, believe it or not, I will kill my way to your Dragon Tiger Mountain right now, kill your entire clan, and slaughter your disciples and grand disciples. The two smelly hooligans' mouths were full of extravagant boasting. In any case, they were just saying these harsh words. Those who didn't know better would think that the two of them were fighting to the death. In fact, the two of them were just trying to show off their eloquence. Chun Zhao scanned everyone in the room with an unfriendly gaze. You better tell me the whole story honestly now, lest I vent my anger on your disciples and grand disciples when I'm unhappy. After all, even if you want to vent your anger on my subordinates, you'll have to fly to the Pacific Ocean. I can reach it with my hand. I don't even know what you're talking about. Zhang Tianyi was still stubborn. Chun Zhao lifted his eyelids and looked at the woman in Han attire, standing at the front. He flicked his fingers. On the other end of the line, Zhang Tianyi heard a scream coming from the other end of the line. Zhang Tianyi immediately panicked. Chun Zhao, don't be rash. If one of my subordinates loses a single hair, we'll fight to the death. There are my hands. I can do whatever I want. Zhang Tianyi really regretted not scheming against Chun Zhao. In the end, he got himself into trouble. Just you wait. I'll wait. The few people looked at Chun Zhao in shock and anger. They didn't know what Chun Zhao was going to do. Although it seemed like Chun Zhao was talking to their boss just now, they didn't believe it. Even if they were beaten to death, they wouldn't believe it. However, Chun Zhao didn't attack them now, but he didn't let them leave either. About half an hour later, just then a figure dashed in. Everyone looked up. It was Zhang Tianyi. Boss. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Zhang Tianyi to come. Wasn't the Celestial Master at Dragon Tiger Mountain? Zhang Tianyi ignored his subordinates and turned to look at Chun Zhao, who was still crossing his legs. Chun Zhao, I'm here. Let's draw the Dao. Are we going to compete again? Or what? Compete my ass, you old turtle. Chun Zhao pointed at Zhang Tianyi and scolded, if you don't give me a clear explanation today, I'll kill them. Even if you come, you won't be able to protect them. That's what I said. Chun Zhao couldn't kill Zhang Tianyi, but he could easily kill these people. Everyone looked at Chun Zhao in disbelief. This person dared to be so arrogant in front of Celestial Master Zhang? How could he be so arrogant? Wasn't he afraid of being slapped into the wall by Celestial Master Zhang? Surprisingly, Celestial Master Zhang didn't attack. Instead, he stared at Chun Zhao. What are you staring at? Do it. Whoever's a coward is a coward. Zhang Tianyi looked around. Other than his subordinates, there was only his grandson, Imohan, here. But threatening Chun Zhao with Imohan? Ha! Chun Zhao, actually this is also a misunderstanding. Can't we sit down and talk about it? Ha! Chun Zhao sneered at Zhang Tianyi. The people behind Zhang Tianyi were dumbfounded. Why didn't he attack the celestial master? Was he not feeling well? You won't waste time with me, right? Chun Zhao narrowed his eyes and said hurriedly, You want me to kill one or two of them first? Fine, fine. I'll be frank with you. Actually, this Jingxin villa is a big gift I prepared for you. Are you surprised? Zhang Tianyi wanted to liven up the atmosphere, but Chun Zhao didn't cooperate. Zhang Tianyi's mouth twitched, as if he had made a difficult decision. Okay, I'll tell you. I'm all ears. Nonsense, Zhang Tianyi said unhappily. Have you heard of old monster Kunlai? Never heard of him. It's not like you don't know that I've been living abroad. Anyway, he's an awesome old monster. Since I became enlightened, I've fought with him a few times. I could defeat him every time, but I couldn't do anything to him. Also, after every fight, he would look for a reason to lose. The next time we fight, it'll be even harder to deal with. Chun Zhao listened to Zhang Tianyi calmly, automatically filtering out some of the content. In the past 10 years, I haven't fought with him again. He also went into hiding. Until recently, I heard that he's been looking for a boy. It's your neighbor, little Yezi. That kid? What about him? This incident happened to be related to my Jingxin Mountain Manor. I calculated with my fingers and found that you were the culprit. Then, I told the couple to come here to hide from the disaster. You can link it to me? Chapter 2696. If you calculate it yourself, no one in the world can calculate your fate. But if you calculate it from the side and you happen to be after this karma, it's not hard. Zhang Tianyi's words made sense, but Qin Zhao still suspected that he'd been tricked. Why does Kunlai want to capture that child? Of course, Kunlai has Kuimping blood. It's normal for monsters like him to eat humans. That child is unusual too. He's born with a spirit meridian. For monsters like Kunlai, he's as nutritious as 1,000-year-old ginseng. Zhang Tianyi snickered and turned to look at Chun Zhao. But at the same time, a monster like Kunlai's flesh is nutritious for normal people too. Chun Zhao licked his lips. Zhang Tianyi continued, So I need someone who can restrain him. I realize that you're doing everything you can to trick me. First, you trick me back to the country. Then, you want me to deal with the great monster that hasn't appeared in the Qinling Mountains. Now, you want me to deal with a 1,000-year-old monster. Huh. Qin Zhao, don't think that I'm tricking you. I've been reading books in the mountains these 2 days and realized that your spell isn't unsolvable. The terrifying thing about the 9 pieces of Viscera technique is that your appetite is far greater than your appetite. If you can satisfy your appetite, then the 9 pieces of Viscera technique will naturally be cured. But even if you eat enough food for thousands or tens of thousands of people, you won't be able to satisfy your appetite. Why do you have an appetite for monsters? It's because their flesh and blood carries spiritual energy, and the spiritual energy of a monster's flesh and blood far surpasses that of ordinary food. Therefore, if you want to get rid of the spell, you can only devour powerful monsters. In this world, there aren't many monsters that can be provided for you to devour, and you especially need an abnormally powerful monster. Therefore, Old Monster Kunlai is definitely the best choice. His 1,000 years of cultivation allowed his flesh and blood to be filled with spirituality. It's even more robust than the flood dragon you devoured. Zhang Tianyi spoke confidently, but the others felt chills down their spines. Even though they were all cultivators, they'd only heard of monsters eating humans. They'd never heard of humans eating monsters, especially when Zhang Tianyi said that Chun Zhao had devoured the serpent. They felt a wave of terror. In China, almost every cultivator would have a taboo ranking. Zhang Tianyi was undoubtedly on the list, and the Great Serpent and Old Monster Kunlai were also at the top. Now, the serpent had become Chun Zhao's food. Old Monster Kunlai was also on Chun Zhao's menu. Rumble. Suddenly, Chun Zhao's stomach rumbled like thunder. Chun Zhao slowly raised his head. When is Kunlai coming? After all, for the sake of a feast, I don't mind taking the initiative. It won't take long. Old monster Kunlai will come over himself. You said you'll give me the calming jade, right? Chun Zhao suddenly changed the topic. Huh, that thing is useless to you. Zhang Tianyi looked at him with a fake smile. Whether it's useful or not is my business. Are you going to give it to me? You should have guessed something, right? Zhang Tianyi looked at him meaningfully. When we were discussing Dao that day, regarding the method, I proposed to let the small world grow. Given your time, you might not be able to cultivate it to that extent. So, are you planning to borrow the small world of this meditation jade? Merge it with your own small world? Zhang Tianyi chuckled again and admitted frankly, as expected, I can't hide it from you. Chun Zhao didn't know how Zhang Tianyi would merge the small world of the meditation jade, but he definitely had his own way. After all, he was Zhang Tianyi. Then do you know that the meditation jade is about to gain sentience? I do, and I'm the one who let it be. The small world it produces is vast, but it has no sentience. You should have realized that to me, it's a dead object. Even if it merges with my small world, it won't achieve the desired effect. So, I need it to become a living thing. Zhang Tianyi paused and then said, not only me, but the 23rd Blood Mary and Bifla are also doing their own experiments. The others couldn't understand the conversation between the two, but they could vaguely sense that the content of their discussion was beyond their level. There were some words that he didn't quite understand, but they were very mysterious. But their experiments are different from mine. I don't know how their progress is. I've mentioned this to you guys for less than a month. Aren't you guys too well prepared? Also, you can't have prepared this meditation jade in a month, right? What are you thinking about? Without a few hundred years of incubation, the tranquil jade cannot even form an embryo. This tranquil jade originally belonged to Mount Longhu. It was only because of the issue we discussed last time that I took it out of the palace treasury. To be honest, Zhang Tianyi had thought that even though Chun Zhao was one step ahead, if he could keep up with the progress of his plan, he could definitely catch up. But 2 days ago, when he fought Chun Zhao for the first time, he realized that not only had Chun Zhao's combat power increased terrifyingly, his small world could actually strengthen his body and completely merge with him. At first, he didn't think much of it. At most, it was an increase in combat power. At first, he didn't think much of it. At most, it was an increase in combat power. But after thinking about it carefully, he was shocked to discover the terrifying effect of the small world strengthening his body. It was a state that was almost indestructible, especially for a monster like Chun Zhao. To be honest, in Zhang Tianyi's eyes, Chun Zhao's body couldn't be called a monster anymore. Even the monsters he knew probably weren't as terrifying as Chun Zhao's. He didn't know how Chun Zhao had tempered his body. Apart from Chun Zhao, the strengthening types he knew probably couldn't even compare to 1/10,000th of Chun Zhao's. What kind of tempering was needed to make his body reach such a level? After strengthening his body with the small world, Chun Zhao's body would probably reach a state that was almost indestructible. Thus, Zhang Tianyi realized that even if his plan went smoothly and succeeded, he would at most barely catch up to Chun Zhao's progress. He wouldn't catch up to Chun Zhao. He had to admit that he was still in the first stage of implementation, but Chun Zhao had already completed the second stage. This was a big blow to Zhang Tianyi. He was known as the #1 person in the world. But now, Chun Zhao had surpassed him. At least in terms of cultivation level, Chun Zhao was undoubtedly one step ahead of him. Of course, as the publicly acknowledged #1 person in the world, Zhang Tianyi wouldn't admit defeat so easily. The pressure Chun Zhao gave him would also become his motivation. Oh, if I agreed and accepted your gift, what would you have done? You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.